Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 91 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I am joined by the backyard wanderer himself, Lord Cognito.
Yo, what's going on? Checking out your backyards, making sure everything is straight and in order. You know what I mean? The lawns are mowed, everything is right. We got a lot to talk about today. We got a lot to talk about today, man. Things happened.
Things did happen, and we both seem to have apparel on to represent what happened.
Yes. Let's do it.
Of course. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Xbox show. We appreciate your support, all of you who are showing up each and every week. I said this last week, but just thank you. It's been nice to see the show grow. So we appreciate you. And if you want to help us grow further, you can go to patreon.com/laststandmedia, where early access to our main show goes live on Thursday, as well as free feeds on Sundays. And then we have our Defining Duke Ultimate show, which is a Patreon supplement that goes out every Wednesday. And we just posted a discussion on E3 2023. It was a really good one because this is a place near and dear to our hearts, our personal North Stars, as we grew in our career. And now it looks to be coming back. So we had a lot of thoughts on it.
Yes, really enjoyed that episode. A lot of memory lane, a lot of fair analysis, fair concern about the return. Highly recommend. I know we're going to talk a little bit today, but if you want that truly in-depth dive, go over to that Patreon, man. Go over to that Ultimate. Go check that out.
Yes, sir. With that, let's get started. One thing I like about our show as of late, we're moving swift here. I don't want to bloat the show, want it to be consumable, where every minute you're listening is worthwhile. We don't wait too long to get into the real good game stuff. So first, Grounded reviews. They are out, Cog. 84 Open Critic average, man. Pretty good draft selection for you.
Ooh, his voice looking okay, looking solid. You know what I mean? It didn't bomb, so that's great.
Yeah. Mid-80s, a little bit higher than I thought. You know,
higher than I thought too. This is good. This is a good solid entry for 2022. You know, we got a couple ones both of us snuck in. So yeah, we got to see how this play out. But I am worried about your pick next month. And I'm hoping this can just hold it off because your pick has a lot of even hype coming into it too, so for sure. from the same squad. So
of course, you already know.
Yeah.
All right, we got a lot of other stuff to get into, though. We will talk extensively about Grounded during our What We're Playing section because this is the newest Xbox Game Studios launch. Although it was available in game preview, this is version 1.0, so it's out in earnest now. And I will just say early on, go check it out.
Yes.
For starters, Multiversus. I've talked about this game a lot here on the show, and this is what I feared. Just updating the game and putting it in a bad spot, in my opinion. You now need double the XP for character levels 3 to 15 in Multiversus. Their reasoning is, quote, "We were finding that players could get to level 15 of the mastery track too quickly. This will help it make a bit more of a journey," end quote. Where did this mindset ever enter game development? Because I don't understand, my friend. I don't understand why you were progressing too fast, because it doesn't end at 15. You keep going beyond that. So what's this journey? One thing I loved was the swiftness. You move from character to character on the roster. The reason these levels matter is for you to compete, you need to level up because you get character-specific perks. Now it's slowed down. So when you get matched up with someone who's a high level, you're done, man. You're done. You're going to get destroyed. So any thoughts on this?
Yeah, welcome to the world of live service. This is my world. I know this, unfortunately, way too well. Nuffs, bursts. I mean, when things get nerfed, things get buffed. And basically from the mindset of progression and to limit the player if they realize that you are burning through the content too fast and these artificial extenders. And yeah, this is what really gets people out of live service. They get so frustrated when this. And then what happens is there's usually a pushback, and then there's a subsequent buff, a month later or whatever, if they play their cards right. Because that's generally how the Bungie cycle goes with Destiny.
The Bungie cycle. I like that.
Literally. My world.
Yeah, it's why I said I wish they just sold it, because the game is amazing. I just want to throw that out there. You should definitely download and try it if you haven't. It's free to play. But I wish they sold it, because I don't think this type of stuff would have been a factor for them. They would have went, great, you're blowing through the game. I'm glad you're playing it. But because it's live service, they want to keep you on the hook a little bit longer. I mean, just follow the Smash Bros formula. It's a working formula for your mascot fighters.
I know.
Sell the
Just
game.
that free to play money is just too enticing for these guys. And
I get it. Yeah,
they get caught up. They see what's charting in them top tens, man.
Of course. No, and they're not wrong as businessmen and women. Yeah. They are not wrong. But let's talk about A Plague Tale: Requiem. In an interview with MP First, lead level designer Kevin Pinson said that players can expect to sink about 15 to 18 hours into the game. His additional comments are likely reassuring to those exhausted with the bloat many modern games suffer from, saying, quote, "It's about pacing. There's no filler. There's no trying to make it longer because we needed to. Our publisher, Focus Interactive, encourages us to do the length that we want to do for the game, for the story we want to tell. So we're not aiming for a specific amount of hours," end quote. Obviously, refreshing statement here, but 15 to 18 hours is nice. The first game, for those who didn't play it, was 9 to 10, and there was not much replayability, or really any at all. So 15 to 18 is really cool. It's in a good sweet spot. And this is one of the few Last of Us style games out there that I feel captured that energy really well. So this is day one Game Pass. Please keep your eye out on it. But Cog, I know you are especially looking forward to this one.
Yes, this music to my ears. I love this. You know, it's that sweet spot, man. I really feel games nowadays overstay their welcome, or they use hours as a sell point.
Yeah.
We've got over, and I'm like, it's about how much I'm enjoying the experience. Don't try to push that as the number one marketing tool. And I think a lot of game companies have actually fallen into this trap. So it's refreshing to see, 15 to 18, 10 to 12. I like it, man. Sometimes you get in, you get out. It's concise and you're right to the point. So I'm for this. I'm excited. This game looks absolutely phenomenal. Shout out to the rat physics. See what's going on over there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we had a lot of talk on Plague Tale in our recent DD Cross Sacred Symbols episode. So please check that out as well. It's available on Patreon right now. Forgot to mention that.
Absolutely.
But looking forward to A Plague Tale: Requiem. That is next month, and is certainly going to be one of the biggest drops for Game Pass. So definitely keep an eye out. This one at first will seem like not a big deal, but because I'm a freak of nature, I am going to break it down for y'all on why it is a big deal. So a couple weeks ago, this one flew under my radar. Einon Zur, composer of Starfield, did an interview, and he was asked about the size of Starfield in the terms of music, not the game, in the terms of music. And he said that Starfield is massive and that it will be double Bethesda's biggest game. So what I did was I actually dug into their soundtracks to see the track count. We have Fallout 4 at 65, Skyrim at 53, and interestingly, Fallout 76 is at 40. Now, 76 is a live service game, so it had about 20-ish tracks added to each of the expansions with, I think it was Steel Dawn as well as Wastelanders. But I'm just looking at it from the base game perspective here. So you can easily expect 100 tracks for Starfield, which is great on its own because, of course, music is designed to underscore every moment in the game that they want to emphasize to you. Like when you first take off, when you're in space, when you're wandering, what biome you're wandering, what time of day it is, so on and so forth. That stuff is important because Bethesda Game Studios begins the development of their game with concept art and music. So when they have a lot of tracks, when they're working with a lot of music, it means they're setting up a lot of moments, emotional moments, exciting moments, those types of things. It again, effectively pushes to us that this game will be massive. We don't know if it'll be good. I think it will be, but it is going to be ambitious. And just seeing that track count, while for many other games, it's not a big deal because it typically comes afterwards as a form of decoration for a scene. This is a big part of their starting development cycle. So when they're talking this big, 100 plus tracks, if Einon Zur is to be believed, who's worked with Bethesda for years, this is going to be a mammoth of a game. So do look forward to it.
No, good catch on this. I had no idea. And as far as this news bit, and look, they've already said the scale of this, the scope of this is huge, and it is going to be a direct path kind of as well if you want to do that as well. And then there's kind of the exploratory path, and whether it be the settlement kind of vibe going on, that we may have to experience. I'm curious, look, it's one of our most anticipated games as far as the great frontier and space, and look, that title screen music be hitting
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Like it feels like something great is about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm too biased, maybe I'm too close, but it just feels like that classic Bethesda energy. And there's certain games when they grab me, and it's always that A team. I
Mm-hmm.
just can't stop. So I
Mm-hmm.
can tell. Usually the great ones, like I gotta give it I gotta, even though I would have erased it from history. Don't I gotta give it to your Fallout. Fallout's another one. Like when
That's
that
the main
war
theme.
never changes hits, and that
Yes.
theme hits. Another one, classic. We talking title screen, Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
Outer
Yeah.
Worlds, when that bro,
Yeah.
that hits. You feel you are about to embark on something epic. And that's what Starfield feels to me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because the composer of that, Justin something, I'm forgetting his last name, but he had left the studio now, so that composer won't be there any longer, and he made some bomb tracks across all their
Ooh,
games, so
fire.
he will be missed. But
Mhm.
you're right. I actually just made a video on the Outer Worlds, and I remembered when I opened up the title screen, I said it right in the beginning. I always start off all my Fallout videos like this, as like I was conducting the orchestra, the Fallout orchestra. I was like, damn, it just hits. But then I realized I was doing that with the Outer Worlds. So you're on the
Bro.
money with that.
Yes, sir.
Sticking with Bethesda a little bit in this indirect way, Nvidia, they did a presentation earlier this week and they revealed a lot of things like the 40 series for graphics cards, which will cost an arm and a leg. However, they also revealed the RTX Remix tool. I highly recommend people look this up because they used Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind as an example on how fans can easily remaster older games. And I mean, you will see right before your very eyes in a 6-minute presentation, they take a screenshot with the Omniverse program, is what they call, which is RTX Remix. It loads the scene into their program. You can customize all of the assets, change the lighting, and on the other end of it all, oh, by the way, also work in Maya in real time, which is like a 3D modeling program. So you work on all of this in real time, change the scene in real time, and then you load it back into the game, and there it is, completely changed. And they overhauled an entire scene in Morrowind before our eyes. So this could mean that, of course, modding on PC has always been dominant, but this could mean that NVIDIA is handing a tool set to a lot of people who might start to kill off the remaster fad. Because when you look at the before and after, I mean, it is that level of quality that is extremely impressive. I think a lot of people are going to go hog wild with this, but the reason I pointed out is because they did use Morrowind as an example. The engine only goes, or program, I'm sorry, only goes so far to my research, which means that like early 2010 games, for example, couldn't use this. Again, that's based off what I read, but the very old games, this is designed to remaster classics. So it's obviously never going to be easy, but they are presenting an easier way to do it, which is very exciting.
Yeah, sounds cool. Extremely powerful tech. I'm just looking
Yeah.
at it right now. This looks super impressive. Look at the textures on
Mhm.
AI enhanced the wall. Like it's insane. With the fact that you're able to throw ray tracing or something like that. That's just wow.
AI ray tracing. Yeah, it's the perfect game too, because Bethesda's always been, for all the times they've re-released Skyrim, they've always been very public about not wanting to do remasters, just back compat and upscaling those products and offering the most original experience, which I respect, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just when you're re-releasing Skyrim, I'm going to sit here and go, well, do the other ones, bro. Do the other ones.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
they picked out Morrowind. It looks really good when they remaster it in real time. And it just is a reminder of what fans really want from Bethesda.
Clearly, there's a demand for something.
All right. Sticking with Xbox some more here. Trebuchet fans, rejoice! Xbox has announced an Age of Empires 25th anniversary stream for October 25th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. That will include, quote, announcements and surprises, end quote. Alongside that, Xbox has revealed Age of Empires 4 Anniversary Edition, which will feature all prior updates along with the new anniversary update, which will include the Ottoman and Malian civilizations. So, Cog, I think based off previous leaks we covered on DD, we're likely looking at a console version inbound here.
Man, sure would be nice to just announce this definitive version for the console. My console brethren that been wanting to try Age of Empires in Game Pass, a service that they like. Be nice. But
Yeah.
all jokes aside, this is generally the cadence. It's usually those RTS hardcore start off on PC, tweak, manage, and I have to give Xbox this. As much as people give them crap a bit for the disparity on the RTSs not coming exactly day and date, when they have come, they've generally done a very good job with the control scheme and making sure that modifies into the actual console interface set. So they'll do a good job. I'm confident. I mean, they got Microsoft Flight Simulator very well, so I'm not worried.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see in due time. A good example is also Crusader Kings 3. I haven't played it, but I know it's not necessarily an RTS to my knowledge, but it's definitely of that PC ilk where it works on consoles.
Absolutely.
Slime Rancher 2. It has been a smash hit, and you can play it now on Game Pass if you're so inclined. I downloaded it. It's about 1.5 gigs, so not too big of a download.
Okay.
Unlike the narrative that's often being pushed, COG, Slime Rancher 2 has found immense success despite players having the option to download the game for free as a part of their subscription. Wow. Nick Popovich, director of Slime Rancher, shared the following tweet. Wow. In just a few days, Slime Rancher 2 has sold more than 300,000 copies and reached #1 on Steam with a 95% positive score across 6,000 reviews. Most importantly, this was all achieved with zero crunch while offering top-tier benefits and unlimited paid time off to our team. Thank you. Also, before this, I just want to throw out that he said that the pie in the sky dream was to get 100,000 sales within the first day, and they did that in 6 hours.
Wow.
So this game's rocking it off the shelves. And then Nick also felt prior to all of this success that Slime Rancher 2 on Game Pass was an easy decision, saying, quote, Microsoft has always been a great partner for us and really seems to get Slime Rancher. So it was an easy decision for us. With Game Pass, I think it's a great mechanism for especially smaller indies to reduce risk by taking a Game Pass deal. But for us, I think the model complements our games, which we run a long time. So keeping an active player base allows us to find an audience as we release one content update after another over a period of years. In my opinion, one of the best ads you can get for your game is one of those little notifications on each platform that tell you your friend Jane is now playing Slime Rancher. That's hard to beat, end quote. So we got a big supporter in the household here, Cog.
Yeah, looks like an advocate. Wow. People think that this doesn't happen. Look, we've heard the stories, we definitely hear it. And it's salute to him to see that much success, so early. I haven't got a chance to check it out yet, but I didn't know it was doing that well on Steam. That's really impressive. Look, that for them to overshoot their goal that much is really impressive. And I do think indies, if you're in, you get a chance to shine. We talked about As Dusk Falls, right? Let's be honest. As Dusk Falls, with not being in Game Pass, would that have truly hit the scope? Would so many people have truly tried it and then realized they ended up liking it? Because I remember when we first saw it, we was like, it looked like some GTA loaded. Remember, we was clouded a little bit. We was like, and then you give these things a shot and you see it. So it's up to Microsoft to keep the momentum going. I love what they're doing in this gen. I really love. They really solved that problem for the Xbox whatever, because that was rough at the start of the Xbox.
It's literally the home. I always go to them for indies now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like on Game Pass, there was just last night I downloaded, I think, of course, Slime Rancher, Proteus, and there was one, Moonscars. I'm just like, these are 3 amazing looking indie games all releasing in a couple of days of each other, and they're all here on Game Pass. It's really smart what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Got my Somerville coming.
Indeed, it's on the way.
I'm ready.
Certain Affinity, we've talked about them a lot here on the show. They have shared with VentureBeat that their unannounced Halo project is the largest at the company currently. CEO Max Hoberman said, quote, the biggest thing we're doing right now that's been public for more than 2 years, we've been working on Halo Infinite, doing something that they're very prescriptive about what they can say or what we can say, but we're doing something unannounced, and we're doing lead development on that unannounced thing from conception and design. It's something big and new for the franchise, but I can't say any more about it. That's our single largest project of our 3 projects currently. We have close to 100 developers working on that, end quote. Reports beginning with Windows Central Gaming say that certain Affinity is working on a battle royale of sorts for Halo Infinite. It was also reported there that the team is working on a Monster Hunter style game as an Xbox Game Studios title. So they're very busy. I think this is one that you should put on your bingo charts for post Activision acquisition.
Yes.
That this is one they're probably going to gobble up quickly since they seem to be integral to Halo Infinite support.
Big time. Nailed it. I think support studios are going to be really, really key for this generation. And you've already got the relationship. They've done tremendous work before. We know there's got to be some form of a battle royale, or at least their interpretation and spin on it, from what I hear. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it will inject some life into the franchise. I am curious, like when the release, what they coincided with, kind of. Yeah, I'm with you. Certain Affinity. I'm actually curious about that Monster Hunter game.
I am too. Yeah, that's the one I'm very, very interested about, because I remember there was a big craze for it around the Vita era, because Vita believed in order for it to succeed, it needed to find a Monster Hunter style game. That's why you saw so many with Freedom Wars and Soul Sacrifice and so on and so forth. But it kind of faded away. Monster Hunter just took the world by storm, kept growing. No one's really challenged it. And this looks like to be one of the very few that are out there shooting for that title. I'm definitely interested, because with their FPS background, they're not the company I would think of to do a third-person Monster Hunter style game.
Yeah. It's showing the diversity. I know we talked about it on the crossover. Another studio that kind of reminds me that is, even though they're not support based, is Asobo, right? We were talking about how they have this, one hand they're doing, what is it, Plague Tale, the next hand they're doing Microsoft Flight Sim, and to me it's key for Xbox to keep these relationships and keep them close. I'm excited for what they got to do with Halo, especially now. I want to see how they even integrate further with the new regime, the new leadership moving forward. So I'm excited, man. Certain Affinity been doing their thing for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, small correction on my end, not third person confirmed yet. So I thought I read that, but I just double checked. Just it's a Monster Hunter style game. Other thing I wanted to call out here that stuck out to me is they're saying that they had the reins of this thing from concept to design. That means 343 was relatively hands off with this, and that's either a lot of trust or forced trust, depending on what the situation is. As in Microsoft says, y'all do what you want, or 343 saying, yeah, by all means. I imagine the latter wouldn't be true, because they've already dealt the smoke enough that if they were to cause more headaches, they'd be like, no, we got to make sure this is right. But I digress. I thought that was an interesting little note here, that they've had the reins on this thing, and they've worked on it for about 2 years. That's a long while for
a long while.
What is a battle royale mode, apparently.
Yeah. I think I'm hearing things. So I've heard, like, people get ready. They definitely cooking up. It's going to be a big board, and from my understanding, a spin on it in their way. And I'm dying to see if it gets the demographic that's not into arena shooters to actually try it. And will it be their war zone, so to speak? How Call of Duty has for their franchise.
Absolutely. The other big franchise for Xbox, Gears of War, one that I would have crossed out of existence on my list at the end of one DD episode. There's been some movement on the home front for this one. A new Gears of War, by the way, Gears of War, not just Gears, where that's what the series has turned into now, like Gears 5. A new Gears of War trademark was filed on September 20th this past week. It covers games, toys, sporting goods, cutlery. Imagine they do like a Lancer knife or something along those lines.
Sick. That'd be sick.
Prints, publications, and other merchandise. So yeah, this is seemingly just protecting any future interest they may have. A lot of people have been asking for a Gears of War collection, right? I think a Master Chief style collection, Marcus Phoenix collection is what people have called it, would be really nice to have for this game to give it some life while they cook Gears of War 6 for an extended period of time, you'd imagine. But any speculation on what this trademark may be?
I mean, it could be just symbols protected, but the fact that it's Gears of War is interesting to me, as opposed to Gears, moving forward. Something to keep an eye on.
I agree. Next up, People Can Fly. I actually hadn't heard about this project, but they are the developers of Outriders, the first ever third-party Day One Game Pass game, and before that, Bulletstorm. They have revealed that their deal with Take-Two Interactive has been terminated. This means that Project Dagger, the game that was in development for 2 years between the two companies, is actually going to either be self-published or published by someone else. And this was a letter submitted by Take-Two to People Can Fly. So it's not like People Can Fly felt pressure and left. Take-Two said, now we're out, and terminated this partnership here. So definitely not a good sign for the game. But People Can Fly released what I thought was one of the best games last year. So I imagine Project Dagger is at least worth checking out.
Yeah, they strongly believe in it. I'm looking at the statement and stuff like that. I'm very curious as to why. Like, what happened creatively that Take-Two wanted to get out? I wonder if it's ROI, return on investment. They just things weren't progressing. I'm very curious to see what the disconnect could have potentially been. But it looks like it's amicable, right? They're not like mudslinging crazy, and it looks like definitely People Can Fly wants this to go on, and they want it to to live on somewhere else. And I'm curious to see where that goes as well.
Indeed. Moving on, there were reports that Resident Evil 4 Remake was going to have a weird scattered set of announcements on various SKUs that would be revealed for the game. So originally when we saw it, it was going to be next gen only. There was a lot of excitement, the possibilities, what could be. Then there was a PS4 version announced at Tokyo Game Show. Now it's been spotted online, a Xbox One version via Amazon listings. So there was reports saying that they're going to do an Xbox One version. Just the way they're announcing it is, let's be honest, just really dumb here. Yeah. But this is something happening. I imagine most of our listeners, we get a lot of write-ins about series consoles, don't care about this, but I wanted to make sure it was there anyway, because originally it became this talking point. And I think it's totally fair of, the Xbox One is that weak, huh? Like it's getting left out in the Resident Evil 4 remake fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. The timing of this, right? It's just kind of funny to me. We'll see.
We shall. Next up, Skull and Bones. It got Ragnaroked, if you will. It's been delayed to March 29th, 2023. Ubisoft says this is due to the game needing more polish and balancing, and Kotaku reports that one source involved with the game in its latest technical test says the team is burnt out currently, with progression still feeling a bit too shallow. This game, it reminds me of Babylon's Fall. I don't know if it'll be that bad, but that DOA stink is on it right now.
Yo, how many delays has this been?
I think it's 3 now. Might be more.
And it's like, they're clearly not giving up on it, but it's like, it's at the point now where it's like, how are they after Halo Infinite situation, I look at things completely different now. So it's like, how are they expecting to really get this return on this game? This has to be expensive. Ubisoft production, I thought it was going to be canceled by now, to be honest. I was shocked that they were still going for, especially, wasn't this announced? Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember early when Sea of Thieves was starting to rock, I remember hearing about this. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is grown man Sea of Thieves, right? Like, it's supposed to be like, oh, here come Ubisoft with their spin on it. And then, shout out to Man Ben, they just laughed them out. Like, yeah, okay. They sunk that. They was like, yeah, you do that. You can't even get off your ship and do real things. Then the truth came out. And we were just like, oh, okay. Yep. So I don't know, man. Like, again, can this thing be profitable with this long in development? Ubisoft about their profit, but they don't want to let this go. Very interested to me. And now, what is it? Next year? What are they talking? What are they talking?
March next year.
We're gonna see. I don't know, man.
Absolutely. You're releasing in a packed area. This is the same problem Ubisoft fell into at the end of 2020 when they had to release. It was Immortals, Watch Dogs Legion, as well as Assassin's Creed Valhalla, month after month after month, 3 in a row. And we're about to see that here, where obviously I think ideally you get this out in the holiday, whether it's good or not, you get it out in the holiday, and you don't stack this next to Assassin's Creed Mirage, which people are we haven't even seen the game yet. People are pretty up on just by premise alone. But now it's doing this side-by-side release cadence, and I do worry for Ubisoft a bit. I do think they are scattered right now. They're doing the right thing by giving the game time to put out the best possible product. Certainly, I think there was an element of well, we don't got to go against Sonic. So, they decided, well, we're going to step to the side.
That's what this was. It was Sonic, clearly.
There's an overlap here, and we need to get out of the Blue Blur's way, man.
Gotta get away from the Blur, man. He's outside. Forget about that other thing.
Yeah.
Skull and Bones versus Sonic.
Yes. Wild Hearts. This is the collaboration between Koei Tecmo and EA that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. It's an EA Originals title. It's announced now, and it's coming very soon. It's releasing February 17th, 2023 for PS5, series consoles, and PC. It's set in a fantasy-driven feudal Japan where players battle against beasts called kemono with the help of karakuri, which are sophisticated mechanics crafted from a lost ancient technology. Players can go at it alone or with up to 2 friends in co-op featuring cross-play support, and it is defined as a AAA Japanese-style hunting game for a new generation, where they actually used EA for input on what a Western audience would like, which they like loot boxes.
Loot box. Let me stop.
Ultimate Team packs for Wild Hearts.
There it is. That's what you got to do. Monetize, baby. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I wonder what they recommended. This is interesting. This is a weird pairing, but I like it. I like it in a sense that, listen, as much as we give it crap to EA, I do like EA's direction lately outside of Madden. Outside of Madden.
No sports games, man.
Whew, I don't know what the hell going on there. But with their single player division, I'm liking what I'm seeing, man. They're really refocusing. I think they did a soft reset, and they're kind of like trying to rebuild themselves. And I like what they got going on over there, man. So this is a nice pairing, an unlikely pairing, right? Co-op. A little Japanese style hunting. Sounds cool. Koei Tecmo's been on some joint right now. I've been liking what I've been seeing.
Absolutely. If I'm an Xbox, pick up that phone quick.
That's what Sav said. If he's right about this, I'm never gonna hit it. This is his pick. This is the way he thinks is gonna happen.
Yeah, because I just feel they're putting out so much stuff, man. Because they're helping publish Wolong. That's the month before.
Bro, we gonna get into it, but. I really like Wolong a lot. Like I understood though. I was like, I'm playing this too much.
Oh, you were coming back.
Yeah, like I was just like, I want the game because I'm gonna get too invested, and that's what I know I like something. That's what I do to uninstall. I'm convinced. You don't need to do anything else.
Yep. Yeah, once I beat it, I uninstalled because I went, all right. I was already excited, but I know I want this for sure.
For sure.
Halo Infinite again. Let's talk about them. They're bringing the pit from Halo 3 back thanks to tools within the Forge. Look, okay, so I know we have been highly critical of 343, and we gave them the roses when they said, hey, no Spartan points, but this map looks like shit, dude. It looks really bad, and I don't know what they were thinking, because they have set the table for absolute chaos, because now what's going to happen is a fan will go in and remake the pit in the Forge with their same tool set. It will look right. It will look not cyberpunky or whatever this version of the pit is. I usually don't like to use that term. It's like, it looks like shit, but this should have stayed far, far away. It is adding a third map to the winter update cycle, which is cool, but it is not it. I get they're trying to show up the Forge tools that are coming soon, but this cyberpunk rendition of it, that you can't call it the pit. You got to call it the pit inspired and call it something else. That's what Call of Duty's done, right? When they had done, what was it, like Nuketown, and then what was the other one that was
kind of name? It was like a spin-off. I know what you mean.
Yeah. Yep. So you got to do that so you don't disrespect the OG. But Cog, what are you thinking about the pit coming back to the Halo Infinite?
I shout out my boy Chris Gun, man. It's just like man, you just try not to say something bad. Mama told me, just try not to say that. If you ain't got nothing that nice to say, you can try. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I think it's just like, I get it. You're excited. You know that this is going to get a nice, reception based on the emotionality of it. But the other thing, my main thing is just like, like Chris said, like, Forge is not ready yet. So it's just like, hold off a little bit. Remember I said, let's just be quiet. Put it out when the November update, and then you're trying so hard to get people back. I know, man. Like,
they're like Halo 3, right? Here we go.
Yeah, you remember this. but like not like this, not like this. And just, right, and just drop it when it's ready. Just drop it in November. And I guess some people are like, yo, you're going too hard against them. I just want them to do things perfectly. I want it to be such a smooth thing when no one has an issue. And I'm with you though. The main thing is it's so much purple going on and so much cyberpunk, which is fine. Just name it a variation of it, you know. I don't know. the whole. I don't know. Something, but it ain't the pit. It ain't exactly the pit. Like it's revised, clearly. So that's all. I mean, I can't go too hard on them. I know they're trying. Like they really are trying. But I told you, it's that kid that's like, look, man. And I'm like, look, I don't want to hear anything from you until the next marking period. And I want to see the grades and the next mark. That's where I'm at. Don't come to me with the one little quiz that you did okay with. Come to me when I know the market period is over. Then we give you the real grade. Come back. November. I'll see you there.
I'm still processing that we were so spiritually interconnected. We both called it the whole. I feel like we got to call it that moving forward.
That's the Dukes right there. No doubt.
Insider Gaming, new outlet established, has reported that new details will be hitting Dead Space Remake mid-October as press seemingly had the opportunity to play the game for multiple hours. So keep an eye out for that one. A little jealous, man. I want to play that, man. I want to see what's up. But they said press, so I'm guessing. I've noticed content creators have, at least by my experience, have been gradually cut out of the preview category. This is like a historic low for me when it comes to previews. Yeah, very low.
Gaming down there. We gotta stop this. You're gonna be an unofficial member now.
Oh, okay. Fill me in.
We gonna work on something. This is Matty has to be part of Dead Space. This is his blood right here. What he does.
Regardless, though, I am very interested in this game. I'm hoping this is when we get the delay announcement, right, for my fantasy draft.
That's right.
Yeah, this is the moment. Be like, we just need a little more time, so we're now releasing in February. You gotta do it. But I am interested to see what people think of this and how this game looks. I'm my heart's in their hands right now.
I know. I can't wait because this is so near and dear to you, and I know your concerns were motive. So it's just like, do they do it right? Is the spiritual essence there for Matty? I need to know these things. So yeah, we got to see what's going on here, man. It's a big one.
Absolutely. This one was sent in by a member of the audience. Atlas is suing fans who revived the long dead Shin Megami Tensei MMO. And they were asking if it was a little too harsh. I was unaware of this story, so I figured I'd put in the before we begin section to talk about it. And I do apologize to the person who wrote in because I should have wrote your name down with this story. So that's on me. But what effectively happened here is Atlas has declined to comment on the story here from Video Games Chronicle, but a network called, where is it here? Reimagine had this server up. They have now taken it down alongside their website, their Discord server, but they were recently told to take the game down because there has been an active court case filing for them for over a year, and they just learned out about it now. And the reason Atlas is doing this, according to VGC, is Atlas states in the court documents that it believes the fans behind the unofficial servers, quote, have caused and will continue to cause irreparable damage to Atlas unless restrained by this court, end quote. The company is seeking total shutdown of all websites and servers related to the named fan servers, as well as up to $25,000 per violation decided by the court. So this is pretty heavy-handed by Atlas. They are in that pocket of companies that are very anti-modder, I would say. We saw a similar thing with Nintendo where they've cut YouTubers off in the past for modding like Breath of the Wild and stuff. They hate this type of stuff. And it blows my mind because this is the type of stuff that brings the wrong kind of attention to your company, especially because there are fan projects that exist that keep certain MMOs alive, like Star Wars Galaxies is one, for example. So I was kind of surprised by this news in one instance because it's heavy-handed nature. I don't mind them asking like, hey, take it down. It's not yours because they have the right to, but suing them because they've done irreparable damage. I couldn't dig up anything they did that was damaging, but I digress. Cog, any thoughts on this?
unless they're privy to some information I don't know about, source code hacking or something
Yeah.
that I don't know about. I mean, I find very surprised too, especially, based on the fact that it's not really playable, right? It's not, you can't go and play this game. It does not exist. So yes, to the letter of the law, is it their property? They could choose to have it taken down. Absolutely. But this is a very aggressive stance. Like, this is a very, come after you stand. The only thing I want to know is if there's any other additional information that they know that we're not privy to that
Yep.
is affecting them to warrant this level of response. That I want to give them a benefit of the doubt there, but on face value, it looks bad. It looks like it looks very heavy-handed. It looks like you're coming after your fans that are trying to revive and keep something alive that they love that they don't even have access to. So I do need a little bit more explanation here, Atlas, besides irreparable damage. How, in what form? Just if you could clarify, I would love to know.
Yeah, especially because I didn't know about this until they started doing this. So, I mean, what irreparable damage is being done? I suppose they know and we do not. And I'll be curious to see if any answers do pop out about it.
And unless they plan to bring it back, and this is, somehow, going to take away from the thunder. Like, no, we got to shut that down. We do have plans to bring it back. And maybe that's what it is. That's the only thing I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. It just seems so wild, especially games like this where there's such fan service and reverence. Like, the thing going to keep it alive.
I agree. Last thing here before we get into some write-ins. A new Silent Hill game has been rated in South Korea under the title of Silent Hill: The Short Message. Many rumors have persisted with this series over the last couple of years, with it now being stated that Konami has multiple games for the franchise in development. Not much is known about The Short Message, and the ratings board gives us very little outside of a publisher, Uniana, I believe is how you say it, Uniana. This is a company that regularly published Konami games in South Korea. It is understood by various outlets that Silent Hill 2 Remake is well into production alongside another more episodic-styled Silent Hill game being worked on. There's a leaked image of what may be the game online, which resembles the vision of Kojima's canceled Silent Hill game, where the player would receive actual text messages. Between the Medium developer Bloober team confirming a cooperation with Konami and Silent Hill composer Akira Yamaoka teasing that the next project is the one that you've been waiting to hear more on, it looks like fans won't have to wait much longer to learn what Konami has up their sleeves. So, Cog, what do you think of the screenshot I have here? The real text messages coming in from the horror game. Do you share that anticipation that some people have with Silent Hill? Because for this month in October, for Retro Rebound, I'm going to play Silent Hill 2 for the first time. And
you doing it?
Yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm going against the words of the revered horror expert Miles Dompier, and I'm scared. Yeah, I'm a little scared, but I'm going to try it out because I got to see why the internet's so crazed over this. Right? It's not. This isn't like a Yakuza Like a Dragon moment where people think I'm going to come in, I'm going to bully this game. It's just I'm curious, right? I got morbid curiosity here because I am not a horror guy. But do you share any anticipation for some Silent Hill goodness in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up with it. It was different. It was so transformative because, again, Resident Evil was the classic, the jump scares, it was just the moments. Okay, video games are doing something different. I will never take that away from Resident Evil. Resident Evil was a classic. Silent Hill really got me in tune with atmospheric horror, where I am just uncomfortable being here, and I just want to get out. And if I'm not necessarily jump scared, I'm not really, it's just everything around me and everything I'm seeing is so unnerving that's what Silent Hill did. And then they introduced the fog and the mist. Now, granted, probably back then, it was more of a technical limitation for draw distance is probably why it happened.
Great design, though, if that works in their favor. Yeah.
Great design, right? Great game design to make this thing seem like, and it just added a nice little flair to it. You're just like, what's going on here? And as you learn the story, you're like, oh, now it makes you want to do the next one and the next one and stuff like that. So yeah, my curiosity with you though, I don't know how well, because I haven't played it in so long, how well it has aged, right? Because we got to see how they translate it, how they do it. Now, Resident Evil does a phenomenal job for the most part of bringing these joints forward and then adding a little spin to it and stuff like that with 2 and stuff. So I'm curious to see what's going on. But yeah, Silent Hill is definitely, that's part of gaming history. That's part of like my DNA. I'm used to playing that joint. But yeah, it's very, Very uncomfortable.
Okay, I'm looking forward to the thrill ride that is.
Yes.
All right, we got some write-ins from the audience here. Luke Aldersley is our first one. Greetings, Dukes. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on the recent confirmation from T3's Matthew Ford that the white Series X shown in the Logitech advertisement is not for retail sale. Personally, I think the white looks awesome. I find it really weird that Xbox have allowed it to be made and shown in an advert if it can't be bought. I saw a lot of people write in about this, and folks were upset because we're talking about the company that came out of nowhere and said, "Oh, you want a fridge? Vote for us as the best company in this poll. We'll make you an Xbox Series X fridge." They did just that. So you thought Xbox would just bend the knee and go, "All right, a white Series X is on the way." They have shut that notion down. It was just a Logitech advert special console, and I don't really think much of it just because we've seen various special Series X's given away, put up for sale, like the Halo one. So I just look at it and kind of shrug my shoulders. We already have the white Series X, right? And that helps differentiate the two. But I'm, as many people know, famously not a big hardware cosmetics guy. So I think my opinion here should be taken with a little lighter than maybe yours, Cog, where you like this type of stuff more.
Yeah, no, like it's cool. I'm looking at the ad right now, and I'm just like, okay, aesthetically, you got the PS5, which is white. You got their little brand in. I believe it looks like a Logitech mic, Astro gaming mic, and stuff like that. Yeah, it looks cool. I mean, it is interesting because generally, when you see custom console, it's more specific. It's more intricate. And then it's like, okay, that's just a limited edition. That's only going to them or whatever. But this seems fairly straightforward, fairly simple. I would be shocked at some point if it doesn't come. They're gonna do variants. I think right now the focus is just Series S. I think Series S, they're just sitting on money that they could literally like stockpile. I saw the Fall Guys one, you know what I'm saying, with Epic. There's so much. I told you, if that card deal goes through, get ready. There's so much potential there, man. So yeah, they're sitting on it. I think what it is S is the focus probably first, but XD's throw a little white joint over there. That'd be cool.
Yeah, maybe they're saving for the Starfield limited edition one. You gotta imagine like they did it for Halo. Starfield's gotta get one.
I go fresh. Shout out to my boy DJ Oros. He's in my my Destiny clan. He's got the I should have pulled the trigger. I was like, I don't really need it. The Infinite one.
Yeah.
And I saw it. Like I saw a picture of it. So I'm like, damn, that joint look clean. So it's like there's some ones I'm like, I wish I would have pulled the trigger. But yeah, they're gonna make a killer with these type of things.
Absolutely. Papa Fridge writes in. This kind of is it's to my point that I say in some shows where I always wonder what the audience is doing while we're sitting here gabbing about games. And here's a cool one. Hey, Dukes, just wanted to say thanks for the entertainment as my fiance and I listened to DD plus some Duke Ultimates as we drove up for our wedding. So congrats to Papa Fridge.
No doubt, salute.
Safe to say she's a new Duke convert, or at least stuck with me as I listen and grind Destiny weeklies. Cheers, and I just got married, but have to wait on the new season of Plunder Story updates, which is a good thing kind of day.
yes, you got to talk about it. So first of all, salute to that. That's cool. Like to get the human side, hear people, you know what I'm saying, hear the future wife listening. Shout out to the future wife because I'm all about spouses supporting their man's passion, even if they're not 100% into it, because I've seen both sides of it. And look, everybody has their thing and that everyone's going to be 100% compatible. But if you know your partner loves gaming, right? Don't be that person and be like, yo, you gotta stop. I've seen the demands. You've got to stop. You've got to this. I was like, well, I guess I'll be single then, because this is a package. This is you not getting rid of this. So salute to that. Like I think that is so cool. And I'll put my man business out. I'm so happy for my brother, Lord Attic, right? He see like he filing something that's kind of special right now. I know you have it. You know, it's cool. It's a rare thing. And it's just like, it's cool to see, like, support if you can. Even if you're not a gamer, you know, just understand this is what your partner does. And it's so, they're passionate about it. And likewise, we should support, if, you know, whatever they're passionate about. So
absolutely.
I like stuff like that.
100%. Drew Mullen is writing in. Greetings, Dukies. On the last episode, y'all seemed to get pretty upset that Overwatch 1 is being erased with the release of Overwatch 2. While I understand this is like a casual backhand here. While I understand the knee-jerk reaction, isn't it exactly the same thing when an MMO releases a new expansion? World of Warcraft Cataclysm changed the landscape of WoW vanilla permanently. Not every expansion erases the prior game, but it certainly isn't uncommon. Is the real problem that they added a 2 to it instead of some kind of expansion name? Thanks, Drew. And I think that's what we were saying, if I recall correctly. I should have gone back and listened, but at least that's where I stood on it. I know I felt the problem is putting a 2 behind it because it's not justified yet in my eyes. And we'll talk about Overwatch 2 pretty extensively in our news write-up, but I just want to make sure we confront Drew. Maybe, because when we talk about Overwatch, some people get a little feisty. Some people like our takes, but some people get a little feisty.
Really? Don't watch a little feist?
Just a little, yeah.
Okay. So what's the energy? What the streets I want to hear? What they talking?
It's more along the lines of we don't get it. That like I saw someone write in for DD Cross Sacred Symbols saying that they never said there would be a campaign. It was always going to be PvE. So I went and looked, and there's an interview in June of this year where the game director said, "I'm really excited for Overwatch's 2's campaign." And I'm like, okay, so they're calling it that, and it's close to launch. Not that we are all knowing about Overwatch, but I'd like to say we're pretty tapped into the situation.
And this is my source of frustration. This is why I went so hard at Overwatch 1 part of the community. And look, it's a great game, right? But I notice when there's games of the year recommendation, and trust me, it had a phenomenal, it took gaming by storm. Like, be clear, I'm going to put respect on Overwatch's name. It really did. But I noticed when it's the game of the year, if you point out any inconsistency, any flaw, any issue, it's like, yo, you getting the spears thrown at you, the tiki torches are coming out. And all I said was like, fam, what's up with the narrative? Why is there no narrative? Why is there no campaign? Why is this okay for, the game of the year? I've accepted it. If one game of the year, it's fine. It wasn't my game of the year that year, but I understood it. And I said, okay, cool. But I just want to keep the same energy when other games come out and they be like, oh, it's just a racing game, or, oh, it doesn't have this, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. Or historically, they like the hashtag just ones have always won, right? So that's all I was saying. So if that's fine and this is the new trend, that's fine. But all I'm saying is the game has amazing characters. Amazing characters. Let's not do the Destiny. Let's not put it outside the app. Let's not make me go to some comic. You know what I'm saying? Destiny 1 was notorious for that. Grimoire and all this other garbage. Put it in the game. You will get a lot of people to appreciate and connect with it more. We got more to talk about Overwatch, but to his point, like, I think, we said it. It was like literally because they threw the 2 on it, and now they're saying, hey, no longer will you play it in its original iteration at all. And I'm just curious for the people who love 1, because there was a lot of people that fought me, so there's a lot of people that love 1 very hard, like, hey, how do you really feel about that? What if 2 doesn't go in the direction you like? Like, wouldn't you like to have 1 there? I'm just curious from a game preservation standpoint how people are seemingly okay with that. I thought that was an interesting decision.
Yeah, I think to me the 2 is more a disingenuous thing. It starts to feel like the back and forth, the selling it to free to play. Then when you look at this game compared to other games that put a 2 behind it, I'm not saying they overhaul it. I'm not asking for that, but I feel there is a lot more put into it. This game is going to be reworked, which is exciting. They're going to 5v5, I believe, is going to be the meta. It's not 6v6. So there's a lot here to keep your eye on, and it's really going to be about the feel. But I think the reason why I say it's disingenuous is this game, I don't want to say it was struggling, because that'd be a bit hyperbolic, but it wasn't in the public eye perhaps as much as they felt it should have been long term. And I think calling it the 5-year anniversary edition update, or the Overwatch, the Watch Point update, I just think labeling it as an update would not have called the attention they wanted to such a magnificent, or such a large change to the game. So, making it free to play, just doing that looks desperate. But when you put a 2 behind it and you start shifting a couple of things, it feels like it's the sequel. It almost feels like an illusion in some instances. So that's how I'm reading it right now. I don't know if this feels, I will play it next week and find out, but it doesn't to me read like a true sequel with the back and forth decision making. It's like they almost said, let's call it a sequel, and then started deciding afterwards what the hell they were going to actually do with it.
And be again with a lot of experience with Destiny and Activision type stuff. I'm just curious about the energy during the, let's be honest, the Robert era, right? And this thing needing to produce, and them seeing the residuals and saying, hey, it's not having the long tail that we expected. It was a smash, but we've got to do something. And I am concerned. I'm very curious if any type of expose comes out on the decision about Overwatch 2 and how that process. I would love to be a fly on those boardroom walls just to know what the thought process was there, because this is a very interesting thing to me. Not saying it's unprecedented. I totally understand where Drew's coming from, but you have to admit, like, there's some interesting meta choices and model adoption to what is supposedly popping now with free to play, and now we're going to talk about these other things we're going to get into. There's a lot we got to talk about with this game.
Yeah, so we'll get to that soon in the news. Let's talk with Paul S. next. Hey, Dukes. The fantasy draft last week was one of the best EPs you two have done for DDU. Absolutely loved it, which a lot of you wrote in about that. So thank you all so much. That was a lot of fun to put together, and we'll keep an eye on the fantasy team like we did this episode with Grounded. However, there was one glaring omission. Hollow Knight Silksong, a day one Game Pass game, was outrageously skipped despite it being the sequel to the greatest Metroidvania since Symphony of the Night. While this could be a general oversight, it raises a question in my head. Have they taken so long to put this game out that the shine from Hollow Knight is starting to fade during the 5 years since its release? Team Cherry has taken from the FromSoft approach with this game and have gone almost entirely dark for years at a time while they work to finish development. Do you think this silence will continue while they push toward the hopeful launch in 2023? Or will we get some serious hype building drops as we get closer to release? Thanks, Paul. We appreciate you writing in, Paul. Everyone writing in. Thank you. I didn't pick it because that would have been a sweat move by me. I have not played the original Hollow Knight. So if I went out there and I went, Hollow Knight, I got a lot of confidence. Why? Because the internet said so. I just want to win. I couldn't do that. I went all in on my narrative, which is Xbox is going to pop off in 2023 with big first-party exclusives. There will be the Game Pass games. I imagine Hollow Knight Silksong will come out next year. You have to feel it should. Can't be in development forever. But to me, I don't know. I didn't want to. I was sitting there thinking, I'll take my chances with Fable instead. So I did not want to sweat COG out in the fantasy draft like that. But COG, is there any reason why you didn't select it? Because a lot of people were incensed by this. This was the big pick that we missed.
Yeah, no, I give them credit. I actually better lead to the community on it. I did forget about it, bro. I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of them, oh, years. And then, you know what it was? I'll keep forgetting. I covered this game. We did the E3 DDU, go check it out. I covered this game, E3. I was just looking it up, 2019 for Switch. I was like, oh, what bro, it's 2019. Like, I was just like, okay, this thing is going to come out. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect the team. I thought it was just ready to go, kind of thing. So, that I completely forgot about this, to be brutally honest. And it was concerns like, hey, is it coming out? When is it coming out? What's going on? There's certain games just completely disappeared from the radar. That's really all it was. It had nothing to do necessarily with the quality of the game kind of thing on my side. But yeah, that's all.
I love the honesty. Last write in, we'll talk about what games are playing. Haven Breithaupt writes in, hey, Dukes. Last week's episode mentioned the continued plight of Final Fantasy XIV and Xbox. I was the person who did an episode of Sacred Symbols Plus with Colin about Final Fantasy XIV. Weird flex, I know, he says. And this topic came up in our episode, so it might be of value to give some context to the Dukes. By the way, Hayden, great job. I listened to the episode. I enjoyed it quite a bit because I'm feeling Final Fantasy XIV is inevitably in my future, just given Retro Rebound's trajectory with Final Fantasy games. I'm like, I'm going to have to try this game again. I'm going to have to give it a shot, see what it's all about. Anyway, continuing on with Hayden's write-in. As far as we can tell, as told by Naoki Yoshida, the producer and director of Final Fantasy XIV, in an interview from 2019 with similar comments dating back to 2013, Microsoft has the holdup here in bringing the game to Xbox. According to Naoki, Xbox has some weird crossplay regulations that interfere with the social features of the MMO, such as chatting, guilds, parties, etc., and the fact that these features interact with PlayStation gamers. I've linked the sourcing I found below for that interview. But on a brighter note, during the most recent expansion press tour during the summer of 2021, Naoki made mention that discussions with Xbox are moving in a positive direction. As a player of Final Fantasy XIV, I am hopeful that an Xbox version is on the horizon given the huge success of the MMO and Xbox's interest in Japanese products. Thanks, and have a great day. Thank you, Hayden. So a little bit of insight there on Xbox being the problem. It's not Square, it's not the Sony money, it's Xbox. It's just going to be so hard to read because it's going to be a consistent thing. You just never know who to point the finger at.
Absolutely. I mean, in this case, I do agree with Haven. I know historically, people forget, and I gotta speak real. Even though Sony gets dragged for the cross-play resistance, and Fortnite was the one to kind of make them bend the knee and do what they got to do, albeit for a fee. But Xbox was kind of first during the 360 era. Mm-hmm. I remember the Final Fantasy RPGs, the MMOs and stuff like that, and it was a problem with the integration. They didn't feel comfortable like that. So I'm wondering if there's remnants. Not that they don't want to do crossplay now, but the way their ecosystem works and the way Squares has their setup to integrate with people, I think that's really where it is. And based on Phil's comments, the fact that they're working so hard, they keep mentioning it, to me seems that they're working towards that long-term technical solution that appeases all sides, right? Mm-hmm. Where Xbox feels comfortable in the MMO space with the way Square is doing it and vice versa on Xbox and that integration there. I think that's what it is. I just think the way Xbox was set up infrastructure-wise with MMOs, that used to be a huge problem for 360 because there was so many MMOs that missed Xbox completely during the 360 era.
One I played on 360 was the Phantasy Star Online game. That one I played a lot. And then it's funny, they got online to New Genesis, and that one's on Xbox and PC. So that's why I always thought, can it really be them if they got that game there? But obviously there's more to it, as you said.
Yeah, this seems like this is a historic thing. So hopefully they're working on it and they get this out. But this was a good catch.
Absolutely. So thank you, Hayden. Cog, time to talk about what games we are playing. We have one in common, but I'd like for you to go first because you're playing my worst enemy, it seems.
Well, about that, I got a confession. So I had a plan this week, but I'm like,
all right. Had a plan, Arthur.
Had a plan. I was like, yo, it's gonna be Deathloop, mad hours. I'm gonna put a dent in this bad boy. You know what I'm saying? And then I got Season of the Plunder, Destiny Story. Everybody's like, yo, Cog, some other stuff went down. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm just going to play Grounded for like an hour. And then I'm just going to get right into all. Bro.
Yeah.
I know we're going to talk about Grounded some more. I got to bend in the... I was so wrong. I was so wrong about this. I clowned this title. I dragged this title. I said, why does this title exist? Obsidian, what are you doing? I remember the trailer. I was like, what are you doing? Who wants this? No, right? And people were laughing with me that were like, yeah, God, that dude look a little suspect. What are they doing? What's going on? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Really? Really? And then people were like, this is what the jokes were at the time. I remember vividly. This is what the power of the Xbox Series X is doing. You know what I'm saying? At the time,
so he's showing material.
So he's showing it the AAA bangers. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, man. It's one of them moments. So I fire it up and I'm like, yo, I'm just playing an hour and get back to my stuff. What it is it's two things. One, this is why I know the game is good. I do not like survival games.
Same. Yep.
Period. If you put me somewhere and you say, here's an island, here's a rock and a twig and make fire, and I'm not doing any of that. I'm going to run around for a good hour and turn it off and go back to what I intended to do. Deathloop and the stuff in Destiny, which I wanted to play. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, why am I into this? Right? First things off, music's great. Polish.
Yeah.
A lot of polish. Very refined, very clean, very crisp. You know what I realized I like? There's something about Obsidian UIs that I like.
Interesting.
It's weird. It's either the music, the interface, left trigger, left bumper cycling. it's very easy to get into it. In survival, things are confusing. Here's the other thing, and I'm a true confession for all my survival guys that are really ripping me right now. Cog needs his handheld. I admit, I'm a noob. I'm not the guy to figure things out. You know what I mean? So they like, look, yo, make this. Get you're gonna do a little chopping axe, you're gonna get a little thing to pound bricks, you're gonna do a little thing to dig, and they just give me a little nudge just to get me. And then what I like that the game does is does these subtle visual cues. All right, bro, you hungry? Yo, it's time, you gotta start. You know what I'm saying? Yo, you drink, and it makes you prioritize. Then you start going through the backyard, you start to venture. It really gets scary out there, bro. Yo, nighttime. Yo, the worst thing is like when you see something.
Spiders.
Oh, bro, just ladybugs had me shook for a little bit, bro. Like you just see the distance, and you know what? It's like you see the parting of trees, like something big is coming, and you like, oh, yo, what's going on over here?
You just see the grass wiggling, like, oh shit.
And just the simple things. I'm like, okay, how am I gonna manage? My hardest struggle was how am I managing drinking and my thirst levels? And I'm like, okay, look, I had to start looking. Oh, they go a little dewdrop. Okay, shake the tree. Then I'm like, yo, this is inefficient. I got to make me a little canteen so now I can carry this around. Then I'm like doing a little shish kebab, but I'm making my little meat and I'm doing my little thing. And then it just starts. And then here's the thing. Why they got a narrative? Why they got a narrative that I'm like, yo, this is actually, I was embarrassed. I could not stop playing. I was like, all right, one more thing. I just made me my little samurai helmet out of red ants. Out of ants. I was like, oh, this is fire.
Yeah, the armor actually looks sick in the game.
The armor looked dope. And I'm just like, yo, this game is mad fun. I cannot believe I can't wait to go back. Now I'm sitting there like, Deathloop, Cyberpunk, I'm sorry, I didn't expect this to happen. And that's where I'm at. So I know you got more. I'm not going to take any more points because there's so much I want to hear your perspective. But look, this is why Obsidian is the number one draft pick. Bro. They got me loving Grounded. What? What? I clout. Like, shout out to them. Shout out to, what's my band name? Adam Fennick.
Yep. Shout
out to the team. Shout out to that. Like, this is literally a banger. Like I can't. I'm curious if you played the co-op because I didn't get a chance. The homies.
Oh, you did single player.
I did all single,
and you were up that late too with me,
bro. I was having.
I would have got you in my lobby, bro. Oh man,
no, we should have played.
Yeah, I thought you had a squad.
I thought you had the squad. So I'm like, he had the. We should have rocked.
Yeah,
we should have rocked.
Shit,
bro. It's. But I will say, did you rock? Did you do this? Did you do?
I did have a squad, but we had a slot.
So cool. So I'll shut up and we'll get to that part what is you later. But I have to give them kudos. Salute to them. Fantastic. And I just can't wait to go back. I am addicted. They've got one for me.
Yeah. To me, I think what grabbed me with this game, because I was just like you, up all night playing this. I was no anticipation, no hype. I didn't really care. I was like, all right, it's Grounded, whatever. But, bro, I mean, I think what got me here is the sense of finality. Knowing there's an ending. I'm like you. Survival's not my genre, but I can get into the mechanics knowing that there is a conclusion. Now, I don't mean like once the credits roll, see ya, I'm out, but I know there's a point I can comfortably drop it because these survival games are typically servicey in their nature. Here's some new things you can cook, some new things you can craft, build the biggest house. Look, during high school, my time was dominated by Minecraft, like many people out there. I know Minecraft's enjoyed a resurgence. It's still popular. I'm never going to slander one of the GOATs. But for me, I just had my fill. So it's very surprising to be brought back to that time. I was thinking of those nights in senior year, junior year, where we're just up, building the right house, putting things together. But the thing was the creative side is what drove me then. Now that's sort of been wrung dry, having this, as you mentioned, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids level universe where you've been brought down to the size of an ant in this backyard, and finding a soda can is this whoa moment is really cool, especially because there's a level of interaction with the environment that I didn't expect. It's not your typical Obsidian, like walk in, what's the lore? What are the notes and the terminals I can read? It's, oh, wait, what I did was I took this soda can, I built a fort around this thing, man. So we have this tiny can, and you enter it, and it's great because now no big bugs can get us. That's why we hunkered down in there as a crew. We're like, no spiders, no orb weavers, none of y'all are getting in here. Then, as we were getting our stuff together, as time went on, we started to say, okay, we're feeling confident now. We can take these things on. We had like the ant clubs. So it was like tier 2. Yeah. And these spiders don't like blunt weapons. So when you hit them a bunch of times, they get stun locked. So you want a crew just hitting them over the head. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So once you do that, I'm like, okay, let's go get some stuff, boys. Let's put together a real fort here. So that's what I did. Built a fort around the soda can. But what I love is, have you been to any of the labs yet?
I've been to one, yes.
Isn't it awesome? I found one
so cool,
buried in this deep bush. I was like hopping.
One in the big tree, or you found another one?
No, not the big tree, another one.
Oh, I didn't find that one.
There's multiple. I won't spoil it, but I'll just say there was platforming. It was actually atmospheric. It was dark. There were zip lines. I found the brood mother's home. It's a webbed cave. It was actually kind of creepy. And the music was hitting right. I went, this is actually kind of a special game because it's familiar mechanically, build, collect, hunger, thirst. You've seen it before, but the way it taps into the universe, and again, that sense of finality drives me forward, where I get into the mechanics, where I know there's an end point here, and I've got to find out why I've been shrunken down, who's behind this, how did they do it, and the game does really good environmental storytelling where sometimes it's not what you say. Like, this is not a spoiler because you see it in the first second of the game. No exaggeration. You load in, you look down at the case that you start the game in.
Yes.
5 slots, not 4. 5. But there's only 4 playable characters. So I'm sitting there going, who's number 5? And the game never tells you this. So it's that level of tact in design that Obsidian's so well known for now. And it's shown they're going to be the superstars right now for Xbox. They're kind of joining the ranks of, I'd say, oh my God, I'm blanking on the developer's name right now. Forza Horizon.
Playground, yeah.
Thank you. Holy smokes. I wasn't going to get that. I was going to say turn 10, but like the hard carry, right? Where during a time things are down, we got a really special game here that I think some people will sleep on, and I get why, because I was ready to, but when we decided, let's do a grounded spoiler cast, let's actually finish this. Let's support a new Xbox launch. Let's do what we can, because there's a lot of games with Game Pass and first party we can tap into. So let's make that initiative. I went, okay, doing this for a job. But by the end, I was like, I'm just doing this is fun, man. Like, I'm just doing this for me now. And that's what you want. So that's all I got to say on Grounded. I'm excited like you to dive back in.
Absolutely. So what else have you been playing, sir?
I've come back.
You're back home.
I'm back to Western Suburbia. Yeah, I'm back.
See, look at the energy. Look at his face. He's so happy to be home. I know.
I don't want... someone called me rude about it, too. I was like, I don't want people to think I resented this game. But I'm back home now, right? Like, when I got back here, I just, it was at the perfect time. Because what Cold Steel 3 does is, think of a needle with a thread. And when you pull it, you see the stitch come together. So we have these arcs in Liberl, in Crossbell that you experience over the series of 5 games combined. I've went through all these games this year. And you just see this needle and ties it all together. So what Cold Steel 3 feels like is this moment of, we're here. It's a huge narrative payoff. Everything is immensely interesting because of the investment there. It's like one really long book that I've just been going through. And now this MCU level mashup of seeing characters. Oh, I remember him from Liberl. I remember him from Crossbell. The throwbacks while keeping a consistent arc within Cold Steel. It's really fucking impressive, where I got to start watching my back, because this is getting to the top of the JRPG list. This is because what they're doing here, it's calling card. I mean, its gameplay is phenomenal, by the way, which is never talked about. But I think the calling card here is the story, not just because it's a good story. It's impressive that in today's day and age, where we have so many reboots, remasters, redos, whatever you put in, constantly happening. And we have a game series here in Trails that spans all these games and has no problem having you be completely lost when you join the fun. And they're successful because what happens is people will play one game, and because that one game is so interesting, it's so heavily political, the characters are so rich, you want to know more, and you start searching around. Do I play the next one? Do I go back? I always recommend to people, and I recommend to Xbox before I recommend to people. I recommend Xbox get in on this series because if there's a series that would benefit so much from Game Pass, from saying try the whole series, it's right here on Xbox. Falcom with the Trails series, with East, put them on the map. Xbox would be so smart to get these guys while they're on the low because they're growing. So the series is totaled out at, I think, 7 million sales thus far. This is dating back to, I think, the early 2000s when Sky FC comes out. In the last 2 years, they have sold 2 million copies. They are picking up steam now.
Oh, wow.
So you want to get in on them, Xbox. I'm just saying. But Trails is phenomenal. We're 40 hours into Cold Steel 3. And you know when you're playing a good JRPG, when you're deep and you didn't even realize it. Because I checked my game clock. And I've been doing my thing, man. I've been exercising. I've been living life, hanging out with the girl, hanging out with the family, doing all my duties, right? And I've still sank ungodly amounts of hours into it because you get drawn in.
Well, that's what you know.
It holds you by the shirt. You're like, come here. Mm-hmm. Pulls you in.
It doesn't feel like time is gone. Yep, I know exactly what you mean. That's dope, man. Yep. I'm glad you're back home again.
Yes. It's good to be back in Zemuria.
No doubt.
All right. Let's get into some more questions and then the news. Jot is our first one. Dear Matty and Cog, with the release of the new Elite Series 2 core controller, reports of malfunctioning controllers have swept through Reddit and the like. These controllers seem to be plagued with the same old issues with the bumpers, stick drift, sticking buttons, and on and on. Will Microsoft ever get their act together with the Elite Series? Why don't they get a harder time in the media for these serious QC issues? They seem like great controllers, but with awful, awful quality control and a near certain possibility of breaking eventually. Thanks, and have I bought an Elite Series controller and it works perfectly kind of day.
Yeah, it's funny this came up because looked like mine came in the mail. So I saw this and I was like, oh no, I hope this is not going to be my fate. Because I figured, you know what, I give little man a nice companion. It wasn't fair that Series X, the big boy in the house, had the Halo Elite all to themselves.
You have a good relationship with your consoles.
You
treat them well.
Right. You know what I'm saying? You got to get the light. You got to match it up. You know,
swagger for sure.
You got to swagger it out. So yeah, I'm hoping that's not the case. But Microsoft, one thing about Microsoft and Best Buy, the warranty situation is very good. So, you know, if there's an issue, I hope not. Shout out to, I got to shamelessly plug, shout out to Addict. We reviewed it on lordsgaming.net as well as up on our podcast right now. He did the unboxing. He checked it out. You know, he raved about the build quality, but then again, how can you really test it long term until you really put it through its paces longer, right? We know the older ones, the grips and the stuff. So this is surprising me that Jot is saying that. You know what's funny, as I'm part of the insider program, and when I went, it's funny, I went on, you have to do your weekly at reset at Monday. Basically, they ask you a couple of questions, you give input, to give data, I do all that stuff, right? And they were like, randomly, so, Elite Controller, you know, what are your thoughts about the build? And I was like, why are they asking me this? They had a lot of questions about, you know, service, return service, as if there's a lot of issues. And I'm like, Jot may be on to something, because I was just like, why are they asking my level of satisfaction for all of these things regarding Elite or just controller repair? And if I had a problem, which controller was it? You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. So I thought that was interesting. I hope not, because this new one looks fire. And, you know, it would be a shame if it went through the same thing, but we'll see. I'll put it through the test. I'll put it through the game. This thing's going to be traveling with me. This is what you're going to see when I'm in the hotel rooms doing ultimates and stuff like that, because I had that with Little Man.
Yeah, I find this disappointing because we're talking about a $180 controller right now. We're hearing rumors about an Elite Series 3 for next year, possibly, which would make a lot of sense with all the games coming out to capitalize with some new hardware. And I know a lot of people love the Elite series, especially the original one, but there is a lot of people, I was reading, extremely displeased with what's happening here with the Elite Series 2. And I think for the price they're charging, it's unacceptable. For comparison, I did a partnership with Thrustmasters, and this was sponsored, by the way. I want to make it clear, But Thrustmaster sponsored me back around November, December, because they said, we see you do a lot of Halo coverage where you have this customizable controller. Would you like to check it out and do paid integrations? I was like, okay, sure. Let me check out the controller first, see what it's all about. I still use this controller for PC gaming, for Xbox a year later. Again, I got to disclose this was a paid partnership, but this controller is legit. If you are looking for something that's not going to break on you, that I have had, that is customizable like a series controller, it's a Thrustmaster controller, and it's really impressive. Especially now, I feel it's important to mention this thing exists when their controllers are falling apart. It should not be rated as low as it is on Best Buy. It's just near. It's starting to get near below 4.
Really?
We don't want that, right? We're at 4.3, and that's out of 6,500 reviews. So it's steadily climbing down. So it's something they should be privy to and should be on top of fixing. But the issue is it's the same thing with Joy-Cons, right? You just can't software update and fix it, right? It's a hardware thing, and once it's in their hands, that's it. So they got to replace this thing quickly. It's certainly a premium product. Is it necessary? No. I still got my OG Series X controller right here. This works just fine. But people like COG, like Jot, like many others, want to invest in this stuff. And while I'm certainly not into that, I can absolutely see why folks want to. And they should, when they buy that controller, be getting one that lasts longer than the one that comes in the box. Yeah. That should just be how it works. They're paying the pretty penny.
Yeah, for me, it's critical for FPS. I'm one of those guys that, the paddle. And then I'm actually the hair trigger guy. Like, I like when right trigger is, you see how like left trigger is fully depressed, right trigger is that half click.
Yeah.
Because now when I'm getting that extra little half a second, I got to do it. Look, I'm old. I got to take any advantage you got.
I do too.
You know what I'm saying? And plus, I'm trying to reduce latency as far as the monitor, the TV situation. So anything I can
you're
do.
sweat. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm gonna try to at least perform at my best. You know what
I
I'm
did
saying?
that when I played game battles. I used to get the best monitor with the lowest latency. So
I'm literally the latency guy. Like, yo, that TV's fire, but what's up with that game mode, or what's up with that latency? Is it low? Because I can't be having that. I can't have a pretty picture and I'm getting murked because I'm milliseconds behind. Like, can't have it. And the last thing I will say is paddles for the back for me, especially like my fighting games. I like complex. Tekken is known for it. These double button moves where they do. So you just map that bad boy to the back on a paddle. Boom. Combinations, all that. I love that stuff.
I like that. I didn't even think of that for fighting games. Good point.
Oh yeah.
So thank you for writing in, John. It's important we spread awareness on that. Let's talk with a good friend of mine, Brett Medlock. He writes in, Dukes, I was wondering if you had a chance to check out the extended ending for Deathloop. I finally played through the game, and I thought there was so much potential for the story, but it ultimately disappointed. To me, the new ending, this is not really minor spoilers, although he marks it as such. He says, seems to suggest the possibility of a sequel. Do you think we'll see a Deathloop 2? I would love a similar but more fine-tuned sequel. Hope you're having a bad day. Thank you, Brett. Hope you're doing well, friend.
Which one of your relatives wrote that? I'm just... which cousin is this? It's where it came from you. Shout out to Brett. I mean, I can't talk. Look, man. I have to get way more deeper into the game. It would have continued if it wasn't for Grounded.
Yeah.
But I'm getting right back to it. Interesting. No, I mean, he shares your thought process.
Sorry, I interrupted you there. Keep going.
No. That's all I was going to say. I was actually going to give it to you. I'm curious what you feel.
Well, I said last time when we talked about this that I thought the Golden Loop ending was improved. And I thought people would be pleased with it because to me, I didn't think much of it in the first place. So maybe that's my own fault. I was reading, and some people are still very let down by this ending. And I get why. When I was reading the input, I went, okay, that makes it. Because I still wasn't crazy about it. I think it is better, but still wasn't crazy about it.
Got it.
But when I read what people were saying, which is it still doesn't explain certain things about certain characters and why this world exists, if you will. That's all I'll say. I started to get a better picture and I went, yeah, that's really true. And it might just regress me back to where I started with this all. But I just wanted to give this one some shine strictly because Brett seems to be this perfect example of what I've been reading a decent amount about. I don't think it'll take away from people's enjoyment. I've seen a lot of people loving Deathloop in our write-ins, which is awesome to see. But I am not holding my breath as much as I originally was when it comes to the ending anymore. I think I may have been incorrect on that.
Fair enough.
All right, we got a couple more here. Justin Robinson. Hey, Matty and Cog. I need Starfield. When will we start hearing more about it? I always kept telling you, Matty, that 2022 was be awesome because of all the Starfield news. Well, now 2023 is going to be amazing. Just when will it start back up again? Can't wait to learn more about the game of the year 2023. Hope you both have a wonderful day. P.S. You two are the absolute best. Cog being on this show makes it my favorite podcast of the week. Matty, Retro Rebound is starting to overtake your main channel. Congrats on all the success. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it.
Much love, Justin. Yeah. Starfield, man, is how you feeling? How you feeling with Justin saying?
Yeah, so it's a really good question because that's what I was talking about in a recent video is there's been some movement on the back end of the Steam DB. And typically when that happens, it can indicate something is coming, but not always. Because a good example is sticking with Bethesda Game Studios. There was one year, it was 2018. I think I said in my video 2019, but that was wrong. 2018, there was a ton of movement on the back end for Fallout 3. It said new content added. It said there were new things coming, like new music updates. And people were thinking, oh, they're going to finally, it was the 10-year anniversary. They're going to finally remaster it. It all lined up. But obviously we know that never happened. It turns out sometimes the Steam DB movements are just, in the case of Fallout 3, it was protecting I think it was the licenses for the music there. So that's what they were doing, was just updating that type of stuff. So what it means with Starfield is some people are speculating, given the Steam DB movements, because again, it can say there is something coming, that pre-orders might be opening up because the banner changed to an Xbox Game Studios banner, and people think it might be prepping for some type of pre-order. I don't know if I have the right answer, though, because I feel this game is big enough where they could do it today, next week, next month. They could do it in January and just say, here's when we're coming out. And I think they'd be fine. But I think we also need to acknowledge that this game needs a true Halo Infinite style, rigorous marketing schedule. And by Halo Infinite style, I mean, there were my complaints with what was shown, but it was consistent, right?
Yes.
It was consistent. I think Starfield deserves that. It needs that. It's not Fallout. It's not Elder Scrolls. So my guess would be sooner rather than later, just based off the new IP status. Not because I want it. Of course I want it. But I don't know if they're going to wait for a showcase. Maybe they do, but I don't think they need to. But I could be wrong. I'm not sure if I'm misreading that. But I'm curious what your thoughts are, Cog, on when we may hear more about Starfield, because a lot of people are hungry for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We had the fantasy draft. You had your bold prediction about when you think it's
November.
Coming out. That definitely shocked me. You know, you could score major extra points if you hit that month and that cadence. That's a good question, because there is a part of me that feels it has to come out in the first 6 months of the year. But then there's a part of me that does understand and say, well, you know what? Maybe a post-Halo Infinite world, you know, as far as being at Xbox Game Studios, if you got more time and you're afforded it, you take it, right? Because we know how much, listen, Halo Infinite had pressure, no doubt. That's the big boy, that's the OG, that's the veteran. Starfield is the pressure from the new kid. He's the new kid. He's the cachet. You're the superstar signing. We got you to get in here and throw some touchdowns and score some major points, right? So there's going to be a lot of expectation, right? Especially we just talked about, you talked about the music. You talked about the scope. Like, this thing is supposed to be massive. So it's more prepared. And we talk about the potential history that they've had notoriously with, you know, with some bug fixes and stuff like that. So it's imperative with the polish. So maybe a part of me is like, it's later, you know, as far as the later half of that first 6 months, but then that lines up with how do they do it with E3? And that's why I'm still confused about it. So it's a tough one. I'm still torn. And then we got the Redfall part of the equation, which, you know what I mean? They got to space a little bit. I am interested. I'm not leaned all the way to your side yet, but I am considering potentially, you know what I'm saying, that it's a possibility it could happen.
Oh, certainly. It should be a possibility for everyone involved, just strictly because they need to nail this one. This is the statement game beyond all of them, in my opinion. Granted, I view them on a higher pedestal than most, but this is certainly the all eyes on us release. I think people are always going to be looking at Hellblade, Fable. These are going to draw major attention, but I think the industry stopping moment of all of the Xbox Game Studios titles will without a doubt be Starfield.
Absolutely.
That's what I think.
Absolutely.
So
I agree.
I think sooner rather than later, but that is if it's coming out in the first half. If it's doing what I predicted, which is November next year, like a holiday release, just give it the extra time, because technically, let's say it comes out June the latest, it's getting 7 months of additional polish where you can give it an extra year. I think they would be wise to take that if they need it. So we'll see, depending on when the game's really coming out.
No doubt.
Time for the news. Although we've had a ton already, but the official news list here. Number 1. It appears that PlayStation has now awoken Microsoft's sleeping giant. In an interview with Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, noted Microsoft's position in the industry behind the likes of Sony, Nintendo, and Tencent. He spoke quite openly about the state of the deal and Sony's more recent comments. Quote, "Of course, any acquisition of this size will go through scrutiny, but we feel very, very confident that will come out. However, if this is about competition, let us have competition." End quote. This is significant for multiple reasons. For starters, back in 2021, heading into the first ever Xbox and Bethesda showcase, Satya stood shoulder to shoulder with, at the time, head of Xbox Phil Spencer, saying Microsoft is, quote, all in on gaming, end quote. Getting involved in Xbox's mess and fighting back along with investments that we're seeing in acquiring studios as well as Game Pass truly showcase that this has not been lip service thus far. G Schools writes in, "Greetings, the almighty Dukes. After the interview this past week with Satya Nadella discussing the ABK deal, about being confident it will be approved, after which he made the statement, let us have competition. This reminded me of my childhood when Scott Hall appeared on WCW Nitro and said possibly the most famous statement in wrestling, you want a war, you got one. And not to fanboy the situation, but I gave a cheer seeing that Satya clip online, as it said to me that Sony has annoyed the sleeping giant enough that the big boss is now laying down the challenge, and most importantly, having Phil and Co.'s backs. So how important is it for Satya as Microsoft CEO to be vocal about the ABK deal and this war of words that's happening? I hope you both have a Satya is thinking about buying Sony just to show who is boss kind of day. Cog, I'm itching to get your thoughts on what you think about Satya saying, let us have competition. Do you think this is disingenuous by chance?
I mean, in all corporate speak, there's always some level of disingenuous with both sides. You know, so I got to call fair, but you know, I feel this is a direct response to the inadequate line by Jim Ryan. I think, you know, they know politically, Sony knows politically it needs to do whatever it can to raise doubt or an investigation, and if potentially stop the deal, yeah, they will do that, right? And they've taken that position. They feel this is the best route to go. Whether it makes them look bad, they don't care about that. This is the best route to go, and this is what they're taking. And Microsoft, I'm curious to see how they would respond. And it was Satya, and it is. I agree with G School. It's very symbolic. It's symbolic in the sense that, again, the CEO of Microsoft, right? This is gaming is something that they do on the side in comparison to Azure and all the other models that they got going on over there. So this to me represents one, Satya saying, okay, we see what you're saying. Here's our take. You know, you're number four, you know, we're number 4 or 5, you know what I'm saying? And you guys are number 1. Now, granted, there is a little bit of disingenuous. I got to shout out my man, Hogue Law. We had a good conversation about it in the sense that if you're talking pure gaming, if you're talking about the overall sphere, yes, Tencent, Apple, you know, Google's in the mix, yes. To the letter of that law, yes. But if you're talking about from a pure gaming perspective, then it's really Sony, Microsoft, you know what I'm saying? And then whatever, as far as the consoles and all that other stuff. So I get it. This is just to protect, to ensure that the deal's going through, to make sure that they try to be as transparent as possible as what their intent with Call of Duty is going to be. Because that's really all regulators really going to care about. Really, they understand how massive that is. I don't anticipate anything else being looked into. This is kind of par from the course from what I hear as far as these type of regulatory investigations. And they probably will have to submit that will probably be the concession, which in their defense, they've come out and say, hey, we're making this play. We have no intention, right, of taking this away from Sony. They've been very transparent with that. But I do think this is symbolic. I want to state, because I've been through these generations with Xbox. I've been there all the way from the beginning. Bill Gates had to prove to him. It was literally Mortal Kombat, get in the arena. Remember when Shang Tsung used to be in the back?
Yes.
That was Bill Gates. You show me why I don't know if you saw the Power On documentary. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was literally the DirectX team versus the team, I forgot the name of that other team that made some great consoles and stuff. And the DirectX team had to show Bill Gates, yo, why are we even doing this? What is the benefit? And how they saw it is like, yo, do you want them to be online with all ISP before you and break into this space? Like, do you want these other competitors to have this at your windows? And he's like, yeah, you're right. Now with the 360, you got Ballmer. Ballmer was notorious, like, not that he didn't care about Xbox. He definitely had it. But Peter Moore had to go into there in 360 moments and say, look, about this red ring. Now, we can sweep this under the rug. Or we can have what we call the Tylenol moment. And we take this on the chin, but we save the brand name by taking these consoles in for free, the shipping, taking that cost on ourselves, because we will destroy our name, right? Yeah. Then we move to the Xbox One era, right? Now we have Terry Myerson and them guys will take you out at the top, but you have the transition and what's called the Don Matrick, is kind of in charge for a little bit. And it becomes the media focus, the TV focus, the integration being bigger than gaming. It's not working out. The gaming focus is not there. And Brass is saying, why are we doing this? Tell us, Phil. Now you're the new guy here. Don's gone. Why are we doing this? There's tremendous resistance. So the reason why Phil is beloved is because he got them to believe on it, whether it be through Game Pass, the team he's constructed, so on and so forth. I say that to say this, to where we get now with Satya, right? Satya coming out even before this, like G School said, when he came out during that, what was that conference where he was side by side where he said, no, we're committed to games.
It was just a video they posted, yeah.
Yes. Symbolic. That is huge. That he has, you can say what you want about Phil. You can say, he talks out whatever I know some people don't like him. I have to respect him, because at the end of the day, you got that man to realize that they need to have a full investment, and it was through Game Pass and the Azure backbone. That seems to be the key, where he's winning the boardroom over and they're liking what they're seeing. Because clearly, money guys, because let's be honest, these are money guys versus money guys. Let's just be with it. It's Ryan versus Sajid. This is the money. You know what I'm saying? Money guys want to know, are we making money? So clearly they have a long tail vision for that. And that's why it is about. It's funny. It's hilarious. I'm here for this because it is console warring in the ballroom. It's absolutely hilarious. There's a part of me that does want to see what happens with this, with the UK portion, and see the next step. And then hopefully they get it finalized and be done. But yeah, Satya coming out, it was significant. There's no doubt.
Completely agree. Stole the show there. I don't know if I got anything to add on top of that. So let's move into a write-in here from Matthew Scora. Hello, Dukes. First time writing into the show. On last week's episode, Cog said something about the ABK deal and COD exclusivity that got me thinking. He mentioned how Sony is scared that sometime after 2027, Microsoft could pull the plug and make COD exclusive. My question is this: could that actually be the plan? Microsoft has offered to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation through 2027, suspiciously close to when the next generation of consoles could be releasing. Do we think this is outside of the realm of possibility, that this is exactly what Phil Spencer was aiming for? Microsoft can use the rest of this generation to see where the Xbox versus PlayStation console sales line up and match that with their internal numbers for how many players are using Game Pass to access Call of Duty. The main argument for Microsoft keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation currently is that they would be losing out on a boatload of money from taking away the game from their largest player base. But a new console generation could be the perfect time to attempt the move, especially if they had the data to show that players have indeed been moving to Xbox to play Call of Duty in previous years. Is my tinfoil hat too tight here, or could I be right on the money? Keep up the good work and have my tire exploded on the highway half an hour into a 3-hour drive and I had to make it for work. kind of day.
Damn, bro.
Yeah,
Damn.
Matthew, congrats on your first write into DD. We hope the tire in the car is doing better now. I like this write in a lot because I think it puts into perspective what you were sort of poking around at. We've seen write ins about as well the 70-30 split and what PlayStation could be displeased with on that front. I definitely think Xbox has a long term plan with Call of Duty. I don't know if necessarily them saying, all right, we're going to go full exclusivity with this is maybe their plan, because there is truth to the free marketing Game Pass gets through this game existing on PlayStation. That by it being there for $70, Game Pass in its own right looks alluring because you don't have to pay that price. So by existing on PlayStation, you will slowly bleed that player base dry and feed the Game Pass subscription service that they ultimately want to build, because their goal, without a doubt, is to get that onto PlayStation. Now, it could be, again, part of the long-term play that once they siphon those numbers, you do that cutoff and say, you want it, here's the service. Look, Nintendo, maybe by that point, has it. Look, it's on smart TVs. Look, it's on Logitech G Cloud. Look, it's on Steam Deck. Look where it all is. It's just you guys. Time to bend the knee. I think we got to go back to the starting talking point when this all happened, because this is transformed before our very eyes. The talking point at the start was, this is a big play that Microsoft is trying to gobble these companies up because they need to feed Game Pass. And as they gobble them up and they take them away from others, the reality is it forces them to bend the knee. And it's cold-hearted. I'll be honest. As they start to miss out on games, it sucks. But what it does is it gets their service in a place where they want it to be, which is on every device. And they break the barriers of gaming. That's why I think the boardroom is in on this type of stuff, because Activision is going to be a pivotal play in them breaking down a barrier here and getting their service on various devices. We've seen I kind of expected that. It's not too much of a surprise. Again, with Logitech, Steam Deck was really cool. But we are going to see one of these years the first wall fall between Nintendo and Xbox, I'd say, where we will find Game Pass or a curated Game Pass library, a cloud-based Game Pass library on the Switch, because everyone stands to gain in that. Xbox gains, Nintendo gains, because they'll never have those games, and they don't directly compete outside of the one time where Microsoft came in and offered to buy them. It's a major optical win. And of course, there's much more to that. It's not necessarily that simple. But to me personally, the long-term play, we have to go back to square one, is to get this service everywhere. And I mean everywhere. When Apple comes out with a console, if Amazon does, it's on those, like everywhere without a doubt. And you do these types of plays for that. And so, yeah, Call of Duty is going to be a major bargaining chip for them. They can, once they have it, once the deal is closed, they could be assholes and say, psych. I don't think that would go well for them, but they could call an audible on the play if they so desire. And I think long-term, yeah, there is that lack of a promise, because I think they have something else in mind to help use this as a bargaining chip, because we've seen now PlayStation has squirmed over this to the point where their MO is, we need to stop the deal. We welcome the investigation, right? We welcome it. The tattletales, right? I mean, it's funny energy. Like, I get a kick out of it because I'm just like, man, this reminds me of when I was in elementary school, the finger pointing and all this stuff, the back and forth behind closed doors. But I'm talking a lot here, so I'll just pass it off to you. What do you think, considering this was based off your thoughts about what they're doing here for Call of Duty in 2027?
Yeah, this is, man, it's still going on, and this is the high stakes chess game, right? This is the long term plays, how this thing plays out, 2027, next generation. I'm in agreement. I think there's a lot of long game thinking here, and what they could do is, like I initially suggested, that they say, hey, at the end we'll play nice with the the whole bargaining agreement right now, and then we'll reevaluate after we see the numbers come in from Game Pass. Let's see the subscribers. How much did we really accrue during this by having it in our service for this time? And also, let's not forget, remember, they said they want to put this on Nintendo Switch. They want to put this on other platforms. Then we look at the King side of the deal, the mobile aspect, them really trying to push into these other places. Now, I'm with you on the business sense. It probably still makes sense to keep it on PlayStation long term, because you still get that money, and then it automatically, you're still making money, and it automatically still makes you look good because it makes your service say, hey,
huge optical win. Huge.
They got it. We're profiting, but you can come over here, right? And you slowly whittle away. So I still think they probably should. But honestly, I think the main thing they're doing, this is all posturing, baby. This is all bargaining chip. We are not going to, if Microsoft's position is this, we are not going to give you something in perpetuity. Anything can happen in 6 to 7 years. The landscape of gaming could change. Call of Duty could change, right? Call of Duty could be popular. Things could happen. So what's the expression in the street? Like, yesterday's price ain't today's price. You know what I mean? We don't know what's going to happen. So that's what this is. It's kind of like, I think the mindset is, we're going to continue to give this to you, but don't think you're going to get this sweetheart deal that you had extended to 2027 at the same rate or the same thing. There will be amendments based on the gaming climate at the time, right? Now, if they get super bullish and they like, yo, we got 100 million subscribers in Game Pass, that may be extra. I don't see it, but it's a possibility.
I just think about, let's say the new consoles launch. We had a good launch with Xbox One in terms of content, I felt. But you look at the series launch and how barren it was. And with Call of Duty's current dev cycle, I don't think that'll be sustained over time. I think they might rework that just a little bit. But imagine what it'd be like to say, all right, and this new generation starts with Call of Duty on Xbox day one.
Wow.
And you've created that cutoff between PlayStation. When you make that push to the next gen, you're really defined by not only what you're saying, as we learned with the Xbox One, but what you're offering. And if you come out and say to the masses, kind of like what, I'm sorry, I got to get the name here, what Matty was saying, to start a new generation, you come out to the masses and you say, and Call of Duty will be a Xbox exclusive. I mean, I don't want to start pushing that narrative because a lot of it's speculation, but there is major power in that will make this console a automatic purchase for a new set of people. And for those who are already not subscribed for Game Pass, right? Because it'll automatically be in there. So they'll be getting it one way or another. But I think that'd be huge, ginormous for them. So it's definitely, without a doubt, these are all built for long term. We'll talk about Xbox's interest in buying Japanese publishers. This isn't solely to feed Game Pass. They are eating up parts of the industry to create power for themselves. And I think, they have so much money, they can do it in a way that's not as organic as others, if you will. All sides are making studio purchases, but it's certainly something that we need to monitor closely. That's why it's headlined, I think, like 5-6 of our shows this year, because this back and forth is not only exceedingly rare, but the long-term implications here cannot be overstated as far as I'm concerned.
Massive points, and I agree. There's a lot of ramifications here, and this is why it has to be talked about. It's still a lot of moving parts, but I see your point. And if they ever came to that determination and evaluation, if they felt that they could do it, they might take it. There's still a part of me that feels it's to their best interest based on their long-term goals of still acquiring things. They still said they were going to be aggressive after this deal,
right? That
it makes sense to still keep the face going. You know what I'm saying? But
I think of the reverse Japanese kind of thing, right? Where why would we bring this to Xbox? No one's really playing it there. Let's focus on PS, Switch, right? I think of the same thing here. If you look at those numbers and you see it's an 80-20 split, over time with Game Pass by the end of the generation, why would we bring it there? Okay, we have to deal with a loud 20%, and probably half of that will come on over. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to play the seed, but the metrics sort of suggest that. I feel they would do it.
if the telemetry says that, and they get, let's say in 2024, it's just massive exodus, and they go, oh my God, like we didn't expect this. That's why they're never going to give, in my opinion, I don't think they will give some long-term in perpetuity. It will always be, we're going to keep coming back to the table after a set amount of time and see where things are at. And I think that's just businessmen being businessmen.
I think it should be that way. You can't indefinitely give away something you own like that. I know PlayStation's going to bitch and moan till the cows come home, but I just feel that's what they got to do. They need to make sure this is the uncertainty, because it's literally a bargaining chip that defines PlayStation's revenue. That is the biggest piece you can have against them if you're Microsoft and you're trying to use it to break down barriers in the industry. I'm not going to deify them, but they're trying to knock down some walls here, and I'm for that. I am. So we'll see how they do it over time, but very fascinating.
Last point,
please.
Last point. At the end of the day, it's about what the regulators feel are good for consumers, right? And that's what it's about. It's not about what's good for PlayStation. What's good if it's good for consumers. That's the argument.
Indeed. Number 2. Overwatch 2 is arriving shortly, and it will no doubt be a major piece of the puzzle for Microsoft moving forward in a post-acquisition world. Unfortunately, the sequel to the 2016 Game of the Year has been mired in controversy due to questionable decision-making by Activision Blizzard and mixed messaging to fans. The latest news, stemming from a blog post on the Overwatch website, has seen some mixed reception across the community. Quote, new players begin with access to a limited set of game modes, heroes, and some other restrictions to onboard them more gradually. The first phase, of our new first-time user experience rapidly unlocks all game modes and the ability to chat in-game, and the second phase unlocks all original Overwatch heroes over the course of approximately 100 matches. This focused experience eases new players into the world of Overwatch by teaching them about different modes, rules, and other high-level aspects of the game in an approachable way, end quote. New players will have to win a total of 50 quick play matches in order to unlock competitive play. If you're planning to buy Overwatch 1 to sidestep this, you are SOL. For some time now, fans have been redirected to the Watchpoint pack, which is going for $40, and it includes the Season 1 Premium Battle Pass, 7 legendary skins, including 2 all-new Space Raider skins, 5 epic skins, and 2,000 Overwatch coins. The Premium Battle Pass features over 80 tiers of rewards, and as an owner of it, Blizzard says you will automatically receive Kiriko, the newest hero announced during Xbox's Tokyo Game Showcase. Activision Blizzard is also going to move security up a notch. Machine learning audio transcriptions will be used to monitor toxic player behavior, and player accounts will now require a phone number to add more security, as well as protect any form of cheating. This means that the matches will collect temporary voice recordings of in-game chat, where it will be deleted once it's checked, while the text files will be deleted after 30 days. The game launches on October 4th, where the episode will already be live for those listening around the world, in free-to-play format featuring 35 heroes, 22 maps, and 6 game modes. I'm very curious as King Live Service to get your take on this, because in some instances, the approach here reminds me a lot of League of Legends, with the gradual unlock of competitive play, limiting your heroes at first, but creating that grind to get those heroes if you're a new fan. Could be good or bad, but it serves as a tutorial. I have some thoughts on the security measures that I'm very in the middle on, but I want to start off with you, Cog, because I know this is really your bread and butter. What do you think about the decision-making here for Overwatch 2 as we head into the launch?
They are very aggressive. Like, man, I would love to know the thought process on a lot of these decisions. I am like, okay, I'm trying to empathize with the Overwatch hardcore player. Like, I'm just like, you're going free to play. Okay, fine. Now we're going to do the grinding for the characters. Okay, this is your model now. You're doing the grinding to the characters. But you're doing also, you have to play a certain amount before you can even lock competitive mode, right? So you're kind of locking that through gameplay. To me, the key about all of this is what they're not saying. Is when I show up day one, can I open up my wallet and get the whole thing? Right? Mm-hmm. That's what I want to know. I want to know when I open up, can I buy Kiriko? Can I get everything Battle Pack? Because to me, that's going to tell me a lot and what they're really trying to encourage. And a lot of it is, the forced engagement, the free-to-play model, stay in, grind, battle pass. I get it. I'm just worried that how vocal the hardcore is going to be against this. You know what I'm saying? And then the second part, I'm torn because on one side, I'm a huge, and as the streets feel so too, I'm a huge, person as far as like making sure your anti-cheat is right, making sure your security, your hacking situation. I'm about purity and competitive. Like I hate playing competitive games, and you just know you playing against the cheating lobby, and they doing things that ain't even humanly possible. Like, come on, fam, that ain't it. So on one hand, I understand wanting to make it the most secure thing. Then there's the other hand about giving up your personal freedoms, right?
Yeah.
And whether it be your phone, they listening in on things and you got to opt in. Now we get in gray area, you know what I'm saying? And some people not going to be comfortable with that. We were talking about the Xbox One era, just when Connect existed, people were like, yo, that joint on, what's going on? I better make sure it's not. See, even the fire department agrees. It's hot. It's a hot subject. So right now, it's like, man, I'm worried about my draft pick. That's what I'm saying about this. I say all that to say, with my fantasy Xbox draft pick that me and Matty done, you better watch that Defy the Ultimate. I picked Overwatch 2 on sheer hype alone, sheer love of the game, and I'm still hoping that wins out. But it's getting into this, I don't want to say Halo Infinite energy, but it's getting into every time I turn around, there's some negative news about you. Every week, there's something you doing that's tweaking people and pissing people off. And I'm like, fam, can you just land this plane clean and stop with all of this news? So we'll see. It could be just noise. It could be next week it comes out. The trailer. One thing about people complain, but when that trailer drops, here's the thing I'll think about live service I'll drop on you. When them trailers drop, and they see the excitement, they start showing the showcases and Tracer doing this and Genki doing it, and everybody go, oh my God. And they show some sick play. All that could be forgotten. That's what I'm hoping on. I'm dying to hear what you got to say because there's so much to discuss here.
Yeah, I have less of a problem with their first-time user experience here because if you are hopping into Overwatch for the first time, I'm talking from the perspective of someone who already owns the game and would be grandfathered in as not a first-time user. So this doesn't affect me. I would have these heroes. But for those who are hopping in, I think this could be kind of a good thing to get you involved because there are a lot of heroes in that game and they all play very differently. They've all been rebalanced. So there will be a stretch of learning the game for everyone. I won't call it a good change. I think the match count's a little heavy-handed across 32 heroes, 100 matches to unlock the original Overwatch heroes, plus Kiriko, locked in the battle pass, tier 55. It's a pretty heavy-handed move, and this is my thing with free-to-play. I was saying with Multiversus at the very start of our show, this is what happens when you remove the price tag. You get these game-infringing decision-making that can go either way until you play it and you go, this ain't it. But what are they going to do? They're not charging us for the game, so they got to charge us somewhere else. So I have less of a problem with that. When it comes to the security measures that they're taking, it's funny because I'm one of two minds on it. Of course, I'm very protective of my own security, my own privacy, like any human being on this earth. And I think that it's something that shouldn't be infringed upon by a video game, like collecting my phone number. What are you going to call my fucking house if someone breaks the rules? So on one front, I think it's a little overly aggressive, but I got to throw this out there. Overwatch has a pretty fucking bigoted, racist.
Oh, really?
I've seen some clips, man. Them and League are pretty foul. Okay. And like League was removing, I'm not sure if it's out yet. I haven't played in a while, but they were removing all chat. So you can't chat to the other team now. You can only talk to your team.
Wow.
We're seeing a pretty strong approach from these companies because toxicity is festering in their games, in their communities. And they're starting to get more aggressive and trying to cut it out because a lot of clips I've seen are like a girl will speak in a lobby and like it's Dogpile season. It's bad.
Season.
It's bad, right? So I don't want to sound overly defensive of what I think are security measures that do infringe on privacy, but I almost, from seeing those clips, get why they'd say we don't want our game associated with that. And by the way, I want to make it clear to the Overwatch community, I am not blanketing all you. You know my energy. I ain't about that. I know I said it clear as day, but I got to say it again. I am not blanketing an entire community as that. But there are a lot of clips, and these people exist everywhere. I know that, but there are a lot of clips for Overwatch with that type of stuff. And I think that is why Activision Blizzard is taking this step forward, because it has become not a welcoming place. And it's got the League of Legends energy. Look, man, I tell people all the time, when I get in League, I'm ready for trash talk, because people are ready to jab on the court. And it's like, all right, I got to talk back. You don't got to get nasty with it, but you got to back up your game a little bit. So some people aren't looking for that energy, and understandably so. So, I think that's why they're going to make it. You got to unlock in-game chat. These types of things all speak to, they have seen the videos and they are responding to the reputation that part of the community is giving them. So I'm, again, not defending it, but I think it's important insight on what's happening here with Overwatch.
Absolutely. That's great context. I didn't realize that about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
so that's what's going on with Overwatch 2. Yeah, but that's what's going on with Overwatch 2. We will talk about this next week. I am looking forward to playing it, because I think October 4th, let's see here, that is the day before our show. So we'll get some time in with the game. We'll have some thoughts. And I am looking forward to diving in and seeing what they have to offer us.
No doubt.
Until then, let's move on to number 3. One of the big shockers from Xbox's summer showcase this year is that Wolong's Fallen Dynasty will be arriving day one in Game Pass this coming January, barring any potential delays. Fans dating back to the original Xbox were especially pleased, as it marked the first time Xbox and Team Ninja have united under the same banner since the beloved Ninja Gaiden series. Recently, Fumihiko Yasuda sat down for a series of interviews across outlets MP First and Video Games Chronicles. Yasuda-san is a major figure within Team Ninja, as he is responsible for directing Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. I just got to put an asterisk here. This is not the original Ninja Gaiden 3, which was really bad. Razor's Edge is the one that saved that game. So I want to throw that out there.
Hold it down. Battle breath.
He directed Nioh 1, Nioh 2, and now he's directing Wolong. Beginning with MP First, they sat down to ask Yasuda about Wolong being day one on Game Pass, and here's what he had to say. Quote, "This is a first for us being day one on Xbox Game Pass. Well, we're making a really, really hard game, and we're not sure what everyone will think of that, but by making it available day one on Game Pass, so many players that maybe never played this game before will have a chance to do that, and we'll get even more players around the world than ever before. So yeah, this is a big first for us at Koei Tecmo Games and Team Ninja as well, and it's something we're really excited about. We also think it'll be a really great fit for the multiplayer, with so many people able to play, and really increase the number of people that you have available to join your party and take on bosses. Because, of course, like any Soul-style game, there's the summoning system. You'll be able to bring in help. Video Games Chronicles took a deeper dive into the catalog of Team Ninja. Many Xbox fans are licking their chops over Wolong, given that they haven't had the chance to experience the absolutely wonderful Nioh. With a renewed partnership with Xbox, many had hoped this would lead to the series heading to Xbox, but that doesn't seem to be too likely, according to Yasuda. Quote, "There's nothing really to note about that. Currently, there's not really too much of a possibility of having Nioh on Xbox platforms, but we do hope Xbox fans enjoy Wolong and look forward to that game coming out. That's probably all we can say on that at the moment," end quote. Lastly is the Ninja Gaiden series. This franchise serves as one of the pillars for the original Xbox, and many would agree it is desperately needed as part of Xbox's renewed push in Japan. Fortunately, Yasuda is feeling quite flexible with the license when asked about it. Quote, "We're not announcing anything, but both of those ideas sound like great plans and are both possibilities in a sense. There are both very, very reasonable ideas for potentially a sequel in any series, not just Ninja Gaiden. But what I want to say is, if we were to theoretically work with another company on a new Ninja Gaiden title, we would need to make sure that it would be a title that the fans would really enjoy and exceed their expectations. It's not just a matter of, hey, let's go and do this. All the pieces would need to fit, and it would need to be the right team, either a younger team internally or another team that would really need to fit the Ninja Gaiden pedigree," end quote. Lucius Augustus has written in, "Hello, Dookie Boys. In a recent VGC interview, Nioh director Fumihiko Yasuda mentions the huge benefits of Game Pass for a game like Wo Long. Xbox and Team Ninja working together again harkens back to the original Xbox. It's very clear that the Game Pass strategy is opening avenues that previously weren't possible and reforged relationships that have diminished during the Xbox One generation. What relationships, Japanese or otherwise, would you like to see rekindled during the series generation? Now, Cog, I know you have had a bit of a Wo Long itch. It's on your team, by the way.
Yes.
So I want to get some thoughts here on not only what Yasuda-san had to say, but of course, Lucius, I apologize, I said your name wrong, and his question about what other relationships may be rekindled through the support of Game Pass.
Yeah, I think it's the Trojan horse. I think they finally found their way in.
Mhm.
And for a lot, I know there's a lot of detractors and a lot of, concern, and people have the right to question. I'm not saying they don't, but, people have to understand. Two people have to agree to something, right? One person say, hey, this is what I'm offering. This is what we're doing. This is this service we got. Now, I know some people have this whole, my God, this is the most evil thing in gaming. And then the other side is like the developer, right? And it's like, yo, what is this doing for us? How is this benefiting us, right? Are we getting the exposure? Are we getting the financial security we need? Game dev is hard. You put a game out there, you put a lot of resources in, the joint don't hit, you're out of here, right? Companies want to live, companies want to survive. So I look at this, and to me, what this deal showed me is that Team Ninja valued for Wo Long that multiplayer component. I'm a big fan of this game. One of my biggest complaints with Elden Ring is they offer the ability to do co-op, but it is the most convoluted, confusing thing I've ever seen. And it's truly not integrated in a way that is conducive to playing it consistent, in my opinion. When I played Wo Long, I booted it up. You go to the little prayer thing when you go through certain sections, you see it clear as day, looking for someone, multiplayer, and the integration, from what I'm hearing, for most intensive parts, is good, and it's solid, and it's really fluid. And that's what they're looking at. They're looking at that engagement. They're looking at them play accounts. Am I a little disappointed by the Neo thing? Yeah, but then part of me is expected. That was done prior. I can't expect all the things that they've done in the past that Xbox missed out for them to just automatically catch up on. But I will say, I won't rule it out. I mean, we've seen things like Ni no Kuni. These relationships take time. Rome is not built in a day. For people who are so bad on Xbox, like, yo, they got to do more. They were the worst. Let's be clear. The worst. There was no reason for anyone to come to their platform during the Xbox One era. Game Pass is the key now. This is the Trojan horse. Now, as far as my man Lucius Augustus, the homie, shout out. He's always in the lordsofgaming.net Discord server. What other Japanese relationships? I mean, come on. Y'all know my answers. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know who I want. I'm the biggest Sega kid in here. My name is built off of it. Of course, I want them to go get, the publisher that is Sega. Of course, fester that relationship if they possibly can. If it stays as a partnership, great. I mean, that's still fine as well, too. Obviously, we still got Platinum out here. You know what I mean? We got people out here that could be acquired and utilized. You know what I'm saying? I know it's a long shot, but Square's out here. Square's doing something. We don't know what they're doing, but they're doing something.
They're forcing a lot of games out this year. We talked about that in our crossover episode. They are trying to get everything out this year. Like something's coming.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about how they're doing it. Is that the way they're doing it is very peculiar and straight. So the landscape is changing. The vibe I'm getting internally is, like Xbox might be looking to the east. We see that commitment, that the boots on the ground is very symbolic. 2 years in a row, they're not giving up. Mm-hmm. They're putting a flag down. They're putting that Wo Long flag down. You know what I'm saying? When you go to Wo Long, you put that flag down. These are the people. All these other Xbox bosses died here at this spot. But this is the Phil and Sarah Bond flag, and we're in it for the long haul. And I'm very curious what the target is. We shall see.
Indeed. Yeah, I'm very excited by what Yasuda had to say when it came to Wo Long coming to Game Pass. I think you're going to see a lot of Japanese creators who have multiplayer components tap into this. I think this is a really good experiment for them to see because obviously, I'd say Team Ninja's done a good job at making the more, I should say, the equally hardcore but more accessible entry in the Soul style genre. So what that means is it's still very tough and demands a skill level, but you can play full co-op. You can do that. You can hang back and your buddy could handle someone. It'll scale the game. They'll have more health and all that stuff like it did in Neo, of course, but it does add something. It adds a wrinkle where Neo 2 is one of the best Souls games, man. I mean, people got to beware. Like, this is a legit game. So co-op adds a major wrinkle. And if they like the player counts they're seeing, I mean, that could be the key moving forward. So this is, as you mentioned, perfect term, Trojan horse for them. They're going to move in. The real standout for me, though, because we had multiple comments this episode of how Game Pass is helping these companies, the real standout is the willing flexibility with Ninja Gaiden. To me, I think this is, and there was a bit of a self-insert in my article here. I think this is so necessary for their renewed push. Revive the old, bring in the new. You brought in Wo Long, you know what I'm saying? But bring in the old too. Ninja Gaiden Master Collection came to Xbox late, which is a little strange. I feel, again, it's got that KOTOR remake energy. What?
Like, how did that happen?
Right, like Ninja Gaiden, man. I get times have changed, but that's where you pony up and say, your family, we support you, right? So I say all that to say this. I got to take a page out of your book here.
No doubt.
Ninja Gaiden, I want to come back. Seeing them being flexible, if I am Phil, and I am not, you pick up that phone, man. You pick up that phone and you start working the line. You start slamming the line, finding a partner, and you make that an Xbox Game Studios title. You may not own them. You may not ever own them, but you need to make Ninja Gaiden the home of Xbox again. The same, you've let KOTOR slip through the gaps. And I'm not sitting here bathing in nostalgia because I played Ninja Gaiden Black late. I remember it was just a quick story. I was getting a lot of bad games from GameStop. I was on a bad roll. My dad said, hey, let's look up reviews. I went, what's that? Funny enough, it's what I do now for a living. But I was like, hey,
go to
what's
Origin.
That? Yeah. And so I look and there's Final Fantasy XII. There's Ninja Gaiden Black. I said, that game, Ninja Gaiden, looks awesome. Picked it up, loved it. But I was late to that party. So my point being, man, like there's a lot of Origin here. And I feel they would be foolish to not try to bring this back with that willingness. Like if I heard that, I'd say, let's try to see if we can find a way. And maybe it's not your system seller, but this is what I talked about a couple episodes. You need building blocks. We'll talk about this in a topic, but I'd be eyeing your Platinums, your Falcoms. I want Sega, but I would be eyeing the smaller dudes first and getting them in the fold with day one Game Pass, with exclusivity, helping them out because these are companies that need exposure, or in the case of Platinum, just money outright. You help them out, build your pedigree, build your framework, offer something that people want on your platform, but maybe not in mass, but have that there. And then when you make the big splash, now it's a part of the company identity. So to me, the standout here was Ninja Gaiden because it's nice to see it's not a, oh, we might work with it down the line, right? Because I wouldn't have wanted to hear that with Wo Long, Neo, Rise of the Ronin. They're on to other things, but they're willing to license it or look at an internal young team and give them a shot. That's cool that that's even being mentioned. So I would love to see, preferably Team Ninja work on it because, again, they have nailed it. But it's why I always recommend to people Neo. When you take out the katana and Neo and you start playing it with that, it feels like Ninja Gaiden. It's insane, man. So maybe you're not zipping around the screen as much as Ninja Gaiden, but it has that feel, that flair, that gore factor. It's all there because it's right there from their pedigree. So I'm very excited by that.
Dope. Feeling it.
All right, let's move on into number 4 here. E3 is back again. This time, it will be in person, where it'll take place from June 13th to June 16th. The first 2 days will be reserved for business, media, and content creators alike. Meanwhile, the third day will be much like the E3 of old, where it will be a split amongst media and consumers, with a fourth day reserved strictly for fans. GamesIndustry.biz says that the 3 core objectives for E3 are: make a better business event where it's easier to connect, meet, and conduct interviews. Make a better consumer experience where there are things for fans to actually do. and partner, support, and be friends with everyone announcing games in and around E3, irrespective of whether they're actually in the convention center or not. Half of the LA Convention Center will be dedicated to business with quieter, more comfortable booths, with the hope of opening up the Kentia Hall to be exclusive for business attendees. This show would like to provide a larger focus on indie games by hosting them in the Concourse Hall. Perhaps the biggest goal of this reinvigorated E3 is not to battle with those who don't decide to be a part of the show itself. E3 will host an editorial with features, articles, insights, and reports covering everything going on that week before and after the show. Furthermore, there will be a meeting app which will be featuring companies within E3 and outside of the show, meaning that attendees can find you via this app and even schedule meetings as a part of the press. So, Cog, we had an extensive DDU on this one, but E3 2023, it's back, it's in person, it's exciting. I'm liking what I'm seeing here. Do you have any concerns, my friend?
I mean, we try to see how it is. Obviously, a brand new format, Reed Pop now taking over. Again, for those who don't know, those are the ones that generally behind the scenes that run PAX, the PAX East, the PAX West, that kind of stuff. You know, very indie friendly, very consumer friendly, consumer facing events. E3, the question is always going to be in that balance. When you've gone before, it literally is kind of like the Super Bowl of gaming. It's literally, you know, the who's who, the biggest publishers, the biggest devs and stuff like that. And then these would kind of get overshadowed. That's it. When it didn't exist, but you would have to, you have to go out your way to kind of to get access to that. So I think that part will change. The main thing here, and we talked about it Ultimate, is the decision on how they're doing the business and industry split versus the consumer split, because that's where the clashing of the heads always happens, where it's like the hardcore journalist or content creator, they have appointments, they want to get to what they got to get, they want to cover these games, but you're, shoulder to shoulder, you're fighting through all the fans and all that stuff. And then from the fan perspective, because I've been on both sides, where it's like, man, I paid this money. Now I got to wait on these lines. It may take all day to see my favorite game. And then you get to the top of the line, and here comes Mr. Matty Plays going in with his VIP badge, talking about media coming through, content creators, 1 million subs coming through. And you got to sit there with the sour face and wait. So, I mean, I get it. So, I think, and it's funny because at ILP, we had this big debate, and I'm for the media and I'm for the content creators getting their own day. Mm-hmm. I thought they wouldn't give to. King and Solve called us. I got to bend the knee. They were like, we deserve to. So I was kind of like, oh, you media now, you bougie, you feeling yourself. You deserve, like, I was supposed to, just to be silly, but they were like, look, it's not enough time. You said, oh, you remember how big those halls were? You remember how it was? And I'm like, okay, I do empathize. I said, look, for the letter of the law, I would be mad if they gave content creators and business people too. Yeah. I would be mad, but I just didn't think they would do it. I was like, and they made the commitment. And to me, last point I'll make, based on what happened when E3 was looking like it was going to be out of here, this sounds like a lot of concessions to get content creation and media back, to get in the good graces. And these are the things I remember they would say. Hey, we need our own time. We need our own floor. We need our media room. We need our whatever. Mm-hmm. That's how you start to build it back. And I'm curious to see what the reception is going to be. And it may work out. I mean, the world is, COVID and stuff still exists, but the world is getting to a more comfortable place each year where people are going back to shows and it's slowly getting back. So it may be the perfect storm. And we already know, last point, 2023, Microsoft's lineup potentially looks crazy. I expect Nintendo to be there. Sony is the wild card. Summer's Game Fest is a wild card. But at E3, if they do this right, and on paper it sounds right, and I like Repop, they got the potential to come back in a nice way, and I'm very curious to see. I'll be out there. That's all I got to say.
Sam, I want to go for sure. I absolutely agree with everything you said. I think this is setting the stage for a nice return, and their year of choice is just right because, like you mentioned, not to put it all on their back, but I do feel we're talking about probably by the point of the next summer showcase for Xbox, it will be Xbox, Bethesda, and Activision there will be a megaton of hype and anticipation because who knows what's out by then, what we're thinking about with Game Pass. But the big question mark will be what's coming in the second half for Xbox. What is Activision going to do? What will they immediately deliver, right? Because when you think about what they showed off at the last showcase the first ever Xbox Bethesda showcase, Bethesda was the one who really came out and defined, obviously now it's not the case, but here's what 2022 will be. Here's Redfall. Here's Starfield. You immediately went, what will we have been? Where would we have been without Bethesda?
Jesus.
Right. Where would we have been without Bethesda? Now we know. now we know.
Clearly.
There was a point where when we believed in those dates, we went, oh my God, like they completely they saved them. And now, hopefully, because everything's so backed up in the pipeline, they're inevitably going to deliver in 2023 because they have to. That when they start showing stuff at the showcase, there's going to be so much potential there. So Xbox can have a major presence, one of their best showcases ever. It's why I told people, I don't mean to move the goalposts on them, but the first show they did was all right. I think this year's show was okay, but I thought like there was a very long stretch of questionable content there. This coming showcase should be the year where it's not the updates, not the DLC, full-fledged games from start to finish without a shadow of a doubt. That's what we're looking for. And I think when they start to deliver that and things are coming and people are believing in Xbox, it's going to be a different energy and it's going to be the year that they come back. And the reason we put it on Xbox's back, Xbox doesn't miss a show. They want to be out there. They don't miss a show. They're there at Gamescom. They're there at Tokyo Game Show. They're doing everything, man. They love throwing on these showcases or being a part of the thing, whether it was Summer Games Fest or E3 Online. Xbox they were just there. Xbox Fan Fest. They're always a part of it. So I think it's fair to say they're a lock. You bring in Nintendo, who I hope to see there, because you mentioned PAX West. They were out there in their full presence, full force. That's what you love to see. So then I think a bit about Sony. I agree, wild card, because if Sony shows up, it's back. And that's where Jeff Keighley could get a little worried about the Summer Games Fest, because if Sony comes back, I don't think they will. There's a part of me that really wants them to.
Of course.
Because that would be that feeling of normalcy has truly returned. Everyone is back. I would love to see them take a chance. I just think with this new regime, there's no shot. But if they came back, that would be, I think, an all eyes on the show moment. The true anticipation would be there if all the major players are present. But to the changes they're making, I like them, man. I like them. I mean, I felt bad. We told stories on our TDU, but I felt bad when I showed up to the Bandai booth and I had friends telling me, you don't need an appointment. I'm like, dude, no, I didn't even email them or anything. Like, show up, flash the badge. So I show up. I'm like, hey, I'd like to check out Jump Force. I didn't even say a word. I just held up my badge.
Come to the front, Sam.
They open up the what do they call it? The red rope. They open it up.
The little VIP, the red rope.
Yeah, they're like, come on in, roll out the carpet. I'm strolling on in. They walk over to this guy. Excuse me, sir. Please get off Jump Force. This man would like to play. I'm like,
how much longer do you have? We have someone here.
They're like, just we finished up this match. You can see he's getting a grimace on his face. I'm like, shit, I'm getting the VIP treatment here. I do like that this setup here will only make it seems limited to one day. There will be one day where there's that crossover, but keeping them separate is very wise, where you have the preview section of the show where we get in, we play the content, we deliver our thoughts, because look, I didn't mind being there with the fans. I love seeing all the people with the booth and just how awesome it is. But the reason why this is important is not even just the bumping people off the stations, but the lines you had to wait on to then be bumped off of. It was egregious, where some people would show up and you got to pick your one game and that's all there is to it. But now the way they're structuring it, there still will be lines. You'll still have to be strategic, but maybe less so. We shall see, but I do like the layout here. Questioning the app, the editorial they got planned, but still very interested to see how this all goes over, because it's really the press who's going to define this.
Yeah,
who shows
absolutely.
up. It's the press who covers it and the companies that show up to make it worthwhile.
Absolutely, they've got a lot to earn that trust back, especially after the data situation. So this is on them, and I guess I'm pulling for Repop. I think they got a shot.
Same. Number 5, we're back in Japan. So, the Giant Bomb Podcast, episode 756, Imran Khan had the following to say, quote, Microsoft talked with major Japanese publishers about acquisitions. I can't speak to how far those conversations got, but they are very clearly interested in some Japanese publishers and smaller studios, end quote. DarkRod99 writes in, greetings, Dukes. There's rumors of Microsoft trying to buy a Japanese publisher or developer. Who do you think their target will be? Many think that's Sega, but Sega has said that they are trying to build the IP and they have a plan for it. So from the looks of it, they aren't struggling. Also, where you guys say, okay, Microsoft, it's time to stop, because even though acquisitions are exciting, they are also dangerous. And Microsoft, I saw that look. You were like, I don't know about that. And Microsoft buying another publisher, even though it is Japanese, is getting into the territory of anti-competition. Have a great day. So, Cog, I know you certainly have much to say, so I will get my feedback out of the way here.
Please.
Going back to what I said in topic 3, this is why you target the smaller guys. You can't tell me it's anti-competition if Microsoft buys Platinum. You just can't. Because Platinum's competing with no one right now, man. Their game that they just launched this year has already been confirmed to be shut down on the 1-year anniversary in February next year. So I don't see, like COG in some instances, the anti-competition bubbling up where most of us are anticipating they're going to go for the support studios, the smaller teams after Activision. I think certainly the next major piece of the puzzle, major emphasis on that, is a sizable Japanese publisher because you need the liaison to mitigate all of the deals within that region that you are trying to convert over to your box. So yeah, they're 100% going to make a big splash there because they need it. They're breaking in, as we talked about, Game Pass, xCloud. These are huge pieces. But to have a Xbox presence with a known company, that has to be there for them. You can't take Tango Gameworks and try to turn them into a megaton. You can't buy Platinum and try to turn them into a megaton. You need to occupy an established brand because we know the Microsoft way. The reason why I'm cool with it is I've accepted their ways. They're going to buy their way to the top. They're going to say, all right, look, we can build these IP. They've said it before, Sarah Bond's famous words, 200 plus independent Japanese developers. So to me, it's like, all right, they're trying to find talent, but they understand that to play catch up and play catch up quick, you gotta gobble someone up. So I'll leave it with you now, Cog. I just want to get some quick thoughts in. What do you feel about the rumors of Japanese acquisitions that have been floating around and what Dark Rod had to say?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Doc Rod. I see this sentiment sometimes. I don't want to come from crazy. You know what I mean? Obviously, he has concerns. You know, here's the thing. You know, when we speak to people who deal with mergers and acquisitions, let's just speak to the people who actually do that. This is not, they're nowhere close to a monopoly. Like, people have to be very careful with these very explosive terms. And also, I guess where I struggle is where we get into this purity talk. It really frustrates me. The right way to do things. The right way to do things. And here's the thing. This is business, period. Both of these companies are corporations. They're here to do business. They're going to make purchases. Now, you could say, okay, it's not the same. There's a false equivalency, Cog, because one is just buying, the other one is just locking out. And my retort would be, the principle is still the same. The principle. You know what I'm saying? Now, the scale is different. I get that. But when you own something, you have the right to do with it as you please. I don't have a problem with either of them. The same way when Sony buys studios and Sony bought Bungie or whatever, however if they had chose to say, Bungie, you are now making Destiny exclusive to Xbox. My behind would have had to bend the knee and get over there. See, to me, there's too much emotionality of people, you know, not wanting to go to a platform they don't like. That's where I see a lot of this stemming from, just to be honest. Here's the thing. With Microsoft's targets, they have been very clear that they are not going to stop, right? They're not going to finish after the Activision Blizzard kick. Of course, there will be some level of stop as far as publisher long term. I do think yes, Ubisoft's next, EA's next. This is
I think
like,
they got one more big publisher in their pocket. I think that's the last play.
And we'll see it. And that's when we can start talking regulatory stuff and, oh my God, watch out. But I'm more in the lines with you. I think they fill the gap. Yes, Japanese focus will be there, whether that be a publisher or a developer. I think they would have shored that up. I think mobile, they've got that. I think they're also going to do things outside the box to shore up other things that people aren't thinking about that are not necessarily 100% studio related. But I also think support studios is a focus. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We talked about, the fighting game stuff. If you get someone in that region and stuff like that, there's still stuff to be done. I just don't think that because of that is anti-competition and no, like in the same token, if we're going to have this same energy, let's keep the energy consistent for everyone. Embracer Group, Tencent. Let's keep the same energy if everyone is so concerned. Because again, my retort to all of this, what is the alternative? Do you want these companies to go under? Do you want these companies to not be able to keep the lights on and now they are out of here? That's my major argument. And I know people don't like it because of the purity of the business, but guess what? Guess who was just talking purity talk and who's scared of consolidation and who this is the death of the industry? There's a certain someone that was championing all of this and just recently went to Tencent. Mm-hmm. So let's you know what I mean? Let's really be cognizant of what's happening, right? There's a lot of this, but when people pull up to the door to say, okay, we're going to pay this to keep your lights on and we're going to see where your purity at. Yep. We're going to see, I want to see all these people talking purity when you're in that situation, because it takes a special person to stand on this square and say, yo, nah, man, I'm good. Keep your money. I'm cool doing it the way I'm doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But that takes a special individual in this day and age.
Bro,
and that's what I think people are doing.
Becoming rich overnight with these deals. Let's be honest. These small studios getting gobbled up, or people are turning into millionaires really fast. Yeah, of course they're going to take the deal.
Here's the other thing, Matty. Like, forget just that. Some people have been doing it a long time. They're trying to cash out too.
Yeah.
That exit plan, you know what I'm saying?
I don't blame him.
Like, hey, I don't blame him. You know what I'm saying? So I understand. That's why we got to be careful with all this. This is what's going on in the entire landscape. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. It's just that Microsoft is doing it now, and people are all a little concerned. But these are the same people that during the Xbox One generation, what are they going to do to compete? They got all this money, and why they're not doing anything? Okay, remember my analogy. Mm-hmm. When you get slapped, don't get mad when the person come back with the gun and shoot you. It doesn't matter how they react. You know what I'm saying? It's what the action that is taken. That's what it is. They're using their war chest. That's their strength. And they've got the head behind them. That's why I said, Sony, just be careful. I understand that the money means a lot with the Call of Duty situation. I understand that. I get that. They want to fight for that. But you're also poking a bear that has a way bigger war chest than you. And that could get interesting. That's all I'm saying. Not the console war, not the fanboy.
It's true, though. I mean, they can take the gloves off. They kind of have already, right? But really go all out. And, Square Enix, let's take them as an example. We talked a lot of hypotheticals this show. I know a lot of us have said it's kind of a foregone conclusion that Square will go to PlayStation. But Square, we always call them the biggest mercenaries in the industry. Oh, yeah. You talked about purity, about when you pull up with the big bag, what that means. What if Xbox said, we'll pay you double what PlayStation's offering? What is Square going to do? What are the shareholders going to say when it's in their best interest to take Xbox's deal, right? So it's something worth to think about, right? Because they're not going to stay pure, right? Like, no. So it's something to just spin around in the head a little bit. Yeah. That money talks to these people. It's their goal. And you are listening to a show where I can't speak for you, but at least for me, I feel these acquisitions are a foregone conclusion. People are seeing the money fly around. We're heading towards subscription services. So it's a good time to be making games, honestly, because if you have even one pop off, someone will try to get you on a cheap deal, and that cheap deal will make you into a millionaire. No one's going to complain about that. Oh, life's going to get easier? I can treat my loved ones if you're a good person. Okay. And you want to pay me $2 million for my indie studio? Okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's where I think we need to shift our attention to is the understanding of why these deals are getting done. And that when companies see what's flying around, it's just like Ubisoft, just like Platinum. We're open to acquisition. Of course you are. The money that's being spent is when you see that Activision deal where people are so numb to the amount of money spent that they're rounding up billions of dollars from like 68 to 70. That's $2 billion. That's a lot of money that one company would die to have. When you see that type of conversation taking place, that's when we're starting to realize like the money that's going around is insane and people are trying to sell.
Yeah, it's just where we at right now. This is where the industry is going. I just look at it as a paradigm shift. Just like anything else with technology, there's points in the gaming industry where if you try to hold on to the old way of doing things, you're going to be eviscerated. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna survive. Think about the people who are holding on to the Walkman and holding on to the CD. And again, I'm not trying to be anti-preservation and none of that. But if you told these people, hey, we're gonna live in a world where Spotify exists, we're gonna live in a world where streaming exists, right? Because that's a future that a lot of these people, that these companies are setting themselves up for. This is where eventually people say, oh, it's not right there right now. It's gonna be another 5 years. It may get there, and when it's there, you better be ready. You got to be thinking about it now. You can't wait till it comes and then decide to change shift. You're too late. You're already evaporated out of the game. That's why you see Sony doing these moves. That's why you see Microsoft doing these moves. That's why you see Tencent. All of them are getting ready for that next echelon. That next, what's the word? Epoch. Mm-hmm. That's what they're getting ready for. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So buckle up. I understand. We gamers. We're setting our ways. I get it. But just get ready. Things are changing.
Indeed. Let's move on to our last bit of news here. This was a pretty hot topic in the games industry. I have some thoughts on this one. Newly established outlet Game Insider Gaming reports that Disney wants a new Star Wars game every 6 months. It is said that Lucasfilm has signed off on the notion where the plan is to alternate between one large game and one smaller game each year. Here is a list of the current Star Wars games in production. Star Wars Jedi Survivor by Respawn, Star Wars Hunters by Zynga, Respawn Entertainment's untitled Star Wars FPS, a untitled strategy game by BitReactor, they're the developers, while Respawn Entertainment is helping produce the title, KOTOR Remake by now Saber Interactive, a cinematic action game by Skydance Media, which is the team led up by Amy Hennig, an open world game by Ubisoft Massive, and Quantic Dream's Star Wars Eclipse. Outside of Respawn, with their impending release of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the license is a complete mess in the gaming space. KOTOR Remake sits in stasis as it transitions from former developer Aspire Media to Saber Interactive. Meanwhile, Insider Gaming called Star Wars Eclipse, quote, a developmental nightmare, end quote, as the studio's engine is said to be inadequate for completing the task. I can't hear that word the same anymore. Ubisoft's open world Star Wars game is reported to be years off, with some saying as late as 2025. Now, I know there's a bit of Star Wars fatigue floating around, Cog. I want to get your thoughts first on how you feel about a new Star Wars game coming out every 6 months if everything goes according to plan.
Here's the thing. I think what's happened now, I think this is the Amazing Spider-Man effect. I think this is like, shout out to Insomniac, because they proved with the care and attention to detail and just doing a superhero game with quality and reverence and just some of the most fluid, web swinging, just a true love letter to the character. And what has happened is, in a genre that has generally been mostly tied to bad movie ports and bad movie tie-ins and crappy games, a star was born. Mm-hmm. And people see that Marvel Spider-Man effect on Sony, they go, whoa, we got to get a piece of this. Mm-hmm. We got to get a piece of this. And I think that's what's going on here. I think it made games, comic book heroes and stuff like that, pop culture show that it can be done with art. So now we're going to it's a copycat league. That's how gaming is, right? Then people are like, yo, this is the new wave. We doing one, right? And now Star Wars, in their defense, shout out to my boys at Respawn.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to, I feel they haven't made a whack game yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I got Obsidian, Respawn is right. I gotta write we gotta do something like a DD one time, just maybe of all time. What's your favorite,
I like
studios
that.
or whatever, top 5, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Vince and the team, and people would like a single player Star Wars. Is that gonna work? And here come Jedi Fallen Order, doing what it do, right? Smashing, knocking out the box. And now Disney like, oh, EA is like, oh, okay, we don't have the microtransaction, ultimate team, everything.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And it can still be successful. So I think that's what's going on here. I do understand the concerns, though, of now getting into a Call of Duty-like level of push out, right? Where we're like, here's this one. Now we got to see, right? I'm trying to be respectful. I don't know what's going on with Zynga. I love the Amy Hennig idea. We got to see how these joints go. I didn't know that the Quantic Dream joint was in development. Hell, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So we got to see. I mean, I'm curious your thoughts on it. I think I'm willing to give it a shot just only based off of what we see with Fallen Order. But at the same time, yeah, they got a lot to prove if they want to hit that cadence. Because then you start to get into Assassin's Creed kind of energy. And I like spacing. That's all about that. I just like spacing. I don't feel like this got to be a factory, say so to speak. So we'll see.
I am all for this initiative.
Ooh, corporate Matty, fight the suit out.
All for this initiative because I think we're quick to forget in my opinion, and this isn't factual, but I think it's really tough to argue otherwise because since then, very little has come out. The best era of Star Wars game was with this cadence. Those early 2000s when we got, of course, your tie-in video games like Episode 3, but you got inventive, original products. Star Wars Republic Commando, a gritty first-person shooter set during the Clone Wars. Of course, my baby, KOTOR, right?
Of course.
Before everything happens, completely standalone. Star Wars Battlefront, a GOAT Star Wars game, a absolute arcade classic. Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, create your own character with some of the most cinematic lightsaber fights, and the list goes on. There were so many types of games. There was Starfighter, Rogue Leader, etc., etc.
Shout out to Vader Immortal VR.
Yes, that's an amazing game.
Just saying, fire. Just saying, Dude, got a plug.
No, and it's totally true. To my point, though, is I know games were made differently back then, but none of those games were connected to movies. They just existed on their own during a time where Star Wars was popping. I know we're in a day and age where people think Star Wars is fatigued, we're tired of it. It is more popular than ever, unfortunately for some. And I would agree with the unfortunate part in some regards. I love things like The Mandalorian, but then you get something that feels a little rushed like Obi-Wan. I do miss some of the dark side storytelling, a lot of the dark side storytelling. I feel we need more gritty Star Wars material, but they're covering all their grounds. There's a new wave of books in the New Republic. They're doing, of course, this new Disney Plus initiative. So this only makes sense for what they're doing currently as a company. But I need to remind people that the best, most diverse catalog of excellent Star Wars games that weren't just, I shouldn't say excellent Star Wars games, but were just amazing video games set in the Star Wars universe, came out in a time period where they were having almost 1 to 2 a year. And there were a ton popping off. Yeah, it was a lot. And then there's the cool off phase. Since then, we got Battlefront from DICE, the first one not being great. They canceled Star Wars 1313. They canceled Ragtag. There's been such a vacancy in the gaming department. I understand why people have forgotten about this. But I think if they're going to really pony up and start handing the license to people like Respawn who say like, yo, y'all made an amazing Star Wars game. We want to give you more of that. Good. Where they recognize greatness there. They were wise to make a KOTOR remake. I just think maybe their pick seemed to be unwise. But I hope that they continue to shop around where this IP is spread as far as possible, because that's when it was at its best in gaming, is when they were letting developers just make cool Star Wars games. You know, of course, there would be, I would say, some level of confinement when it came to the choices. I should maybe renege that a bit, because there had to be some type of box. Like Republic Commando existed probably more so during, due to the fact that it was during the Clone Wars era, during the prequel films that were coming out. So they went, okay, this makes sense. We need to put something like this out that is very different from our typical Star Wars game, but it still is familiar to the consumer. But you would still get, again, a KOTOR that would come around and be, there's swords, vibroblades for my OGs, but there's swords. He's not wearing, he's a member of the Empire, but he's wearing metallic armor with like a black mask. What? It was so different. And that was great. The Star Wars universe is so vast and expansive. There's so much to eat from there. And a lot of it is good shit if you look enough. Like, there's amazing books, amazing comics. I highly recommend people check those out. So the new stuff they're putting out is great. I like this initiative, though. I am for it because it brings me back to a time where they were, number one, actually releasing games. And number two, the best games from them were coming out. So I'm in support of this. We will see how it turns out, but I'm in support of it.
I thought you were going to go the other way. This is interesting. It's just a take. But you brought the history. I didn't know that they were releasing in that cadence at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it helps. Star Wars is my favorite franchise.
Yeah, you know.
Star Wars and Fallout. Like, it's just right there. So I
just defer to you.
I get why I would be in favor of this. I want more of it. Like, I when I see a new TV show, okay, let me get some more of that. Cool. So I am in that ballpark, but I do think, objectively speaking, this is a good call.
Okay. Fair enough.
Game Pass pick of the week time.
Let's go.
Of course, we got to put this one in here again. It just felt wrong if we didn't mention it a second time. There are so many great picks, like one Lee Doherty wrote in about, which we'll dish your way. Hey, Dukes, I might miss the deadline here. You didn't. But I've got a great Game Pass pick of the week for you. You got to check out Proteus, guys. The game preview just dropped this week. It's a retro-inspired Doom clone that really scratches that FPS itch. Great mix of pixel art and modern gameplay. I'm sure you'll mention it on the show, but just wanted to say it's so much fun and takes me back to my teenage years blasting heads in a LAN cafe. Thanks, dudes, and have a nostalgic gore kind of day. Do check this one out. Quick download. It is awesome looking, very old school Doom like, but it's got the movement of today's Doom, but the art of the old Doom. Really cool artistic design. So definitely check it out. But of course, our pick is Grounded.
Let's go.
You know, when the Dukes doubled down, that we mean business, right? When we came with the back-to-back As Dusk Falls, when we hit you with Grounded and what we're playing, and we're here again to say, it's time to download it. Look, let me just state again that when you try Grounded, play it with a group, ease yourself into the world. There might be a little bit of a stumbling phase as you get familiar with the survival mechanics, as you get harassed by spiders endlessly. But once you establish yourself, you get familiar with the gear system, the tiered gear system, the crafting, and what you're going to use, like getting gills from a fish. And when you use them, you can go around underwater and swim for longer. When you find out that one of the main bosses in the game is a koi fish in a pond, there's a personality in this game that it's rewarding your investment. It doesn't take long to get into, but again, like any survival game, you're going to be a little frazzled. You're like, where am I? What's going on here? There's danger all around me, right? That meme of the guy from Simpsons, like, I'm in danger, like that literal. That's what this game is at first, because you're just very small in a world populated by big insects. But once you get through that, it's a great co-op game. The narratives we talked about, very interesting. And there is a sense of finality. We are not recommending to you all who have those full-time jobs, who have those part-time jobs, we're not recommending to you a game that you just soak your hours of your day in. This is something that you can play bit by bit, chunk by chunk, and be done with it. If what I have been told is correct, in a one-night session, your boy is about halfway through right now with the main story. There's still much to be seen in the game, but when it comes to the story, if you're looking for a sense of finality with a survival touch, narrative-driven survival, this is a game you should try. So that's just my ringing endorsement for it. Again, in the Game Pass pick of the week, Cog, is there anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I also wanted to mention, like, it has a charm to it. And, you know, obviously the character who you pick, they kind of comment on what's going on. And from a little kid perspective, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? It's cool. And I love the Obsidian humor part to it. Like, raw science.
Raw science.
Yeah, like, it just makes me like, you find these things. And then I like where the mini game, this is where the meta of the game really started to resonate with me, where the game doesn't open up a lot of things to you from a crafting perspective, but they do it in a logical fashion. So like when you do craft something from a smaller scale and then you start learning about stuff and you put things in that analyzer machine, and once you put things in and then it starts to open up and it's like, okay, now because you analyze this insect or whatever, you can make this out of this. You can do this out of it. And it was just this nice logical progression that, and again, I am not the crafting guy. I am not that guy, Matt. I don't really like crafting in games. Again, it's not that it's a terrible mechanic. It's just that I have what's the expression? Analysis by paralysis by analysis. Like I'm that guy. Like you give me too much freedom, I'm not gonna do anything. You know what I'm saying? So this is the right amount of hand holding, and I start to feel rewarded. I start to feel like, okay, it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? How I'm doing things. And it gave me more chances to explore. And yeah, I really liked it. Just running around that backyard, doing what I'm doing. And for I know, Matty, you gave the premium co-op experience. I'm definitely going to try that. But for my solo guys, this game can completely be played solo. It can. Now, I will say there are some spikes where there's certain things you better run the hell away because you ain't ready. Because you are not ready. Stay the hell away. But there's other things where they do reward you. I got to shout out. This is just my overzealousness. So it was one time I got to another part of the backyard. And I saw a soda can. I'm like, okay, whatever. I got my little canteen. I'm siphoning stuff. I got stuff on me just in case I get hungry. I got my little shish kebab thing. You know, I made like two little bases all over the place. So that one of my main spots and then another spot where I like to go exploring that's next to some dangerous stuff. So I got a safe spot. And that's with the tent. Because, you know, you can sleep in that little tent. You got your little respawn spot. So I go. So it's starting to get dark. So this game makes you shook when it's dark. I ain't going front.
Yeah.
So the lights start going. I'm like, yo, it's about, 20, close to 11. I'm like, all right, I can make a run. And in the distance, I see this little flashing light. I'm like, oh, what's that? So I said, oh, that's a lightning bug. I know if I kill this, I'm going to get something crazy to take back to the machine. Man, if that lightning bug ain't turn around and them eyes got red, and the music hit, I was like, oh, I thought you was a cute little thing I could kill. And that lightning bug started terrorizing me. I was like, yo, it gets different. It really has a personality. It has a little bit of horror element to it. And the music changes thematically to where you're at and what's going on. So far, so good, man. I'm really enjoying it. I did not expect me to like this game at all. It was literally supposed to be an hour play that turned into almost an all-nighter. I'm like, damn, I got work in a couple hours later. I got to calm down. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it got me good.
Yeah, got me good.
So that's our Game Pass pick of the week. Go download Grounded, try it out. We're looking forward to seeing your write-ins next week about it because we're getting the ringing endorsement from not just one, but two Dukes.
Yes,
so now,
check it out.
Final questions of the show, starting off with Ghost Raid. Good day, Mr. and Mrs. Duke. I wonder who the Mrs. is here. That's a question mark there. But
gender neutral.
Yeah. Let's know Ghost Raid. While recently going through my game shelf, I suddenly came to a realization. What happened to Xbox's Platinum Hits line? It seems like all the different platforms' value lines, such as Platinum Hits, later changed to Greatest Hits, Nintendo Select, and PlayStation's Greatest Hits, have been tossed away. Being a physical game collector, they were the bane of my existence, but I feel some form of loose nostalgia over them. The box border was ugly, and it stuck out like a sore thumb. I swear I didn't write this in. But having a line of somewhat recent games with the price dropped down to $20 was essentially the reason I was able to play as much as I did as a teenager during the 360 era. Have the digital age, along with Game Pass, thrown the need for Platinum Hits to the side, or is there more to it? Thanks, and have a COGS JRPG suggestion was somehow played by Chris before Matty. Kind of day.
That was messy. Shout out to Ghost Raid. Yeah. That was funny. I think he answered his question. I think it's just the model is different. I think Game Pass kind of changes that equation for them. I look at like a collector's edition as a physical thing, with Game Pass's model and Xbox's model with digital. I just don't see it aligning there. But to their credit, they started doing stuff with limited run. I just don't. To me, that model sits better with Sony and Nintendo because they have a traditional console software sales retail model. discount kind of thing. Not saying you can't discount digital, but I just think it just sits well with their ecosystem. I don't know if that necessarily fits anymore with the Xbox ecosystem, but yeah, I mean that's just how I see it. And then especially if those games individually can be added to Game Pass, then I don't know if they see value in packaging them separately outside of that. I just don't. But that's just my thought.
Yeah, I do have a tidbit of nostalgia for the greatest hits platinum lines because that's how I found KOTOR. I remember walking into Circuit City, rest in peace, Circuit City.
Circuit City, let's go.
I remember walking in there and they had a kiosk in the middle, $10 and under. My dad, being the champ he is, went, pick any game you'd like from there. He had $10 to spend. I was like, thanks, Dad. Combed through it, found Splinter Cell. Found Max Payne. Love that game, but there it was. KOTOR, first time ever. Picked it up.
Nice.
Still got that copy to this day. So yeah, of course there's some, love for the platinum hits, but much like Ghost Raid, I'm very anti-platinum hits, greatest hits. What does GameCube call it? It's the yellow banner. Dude, you need to have a uniform game collection, and this shit gets fucked up when you start to throw in the platinum greatest hits. It's just a vomit of colors across your shelf. The spines need to match. It's very satisfying, trust me. And what I recommend to people, because back then, I think a big reason why they dropped it, a big reason why platinum hits, greatest hits existed prior to the 360 PS3 era, online downloads were not possible. So when you released a greatest hits, it would include fixes and changes and sometimes new content. So that was their form of getting you to double dip with your next gen upgrade and so on and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
So that is why I think they also have been dropped, because now the expectation is I'll download it. And what we look for more than anything is the complete edition. And the complete edition, you want to have all of the content on disk so that if the internet were to shut off, that you could throw the disc in and you'd have everything, not just the base game, and it'll download all the content online, a game of the year, complete edition, whatever you want to call it. That's what we look for nowadays. So it still exists, Ghost Raid, just everyone's put their own marketing spin on it. And they effectively mark down what existed before that. So it's still there. And I think, yes, with the digital age, there are going to be sales that just happen that make these things not need to exist, because then they print more cases. It's useless plastic, could be done elsewhere. So I think that's why you're just seeing the same case everywhere, which is great for your collection. So no complaints here.
Yes, we like that.
All right. Last question of the show. Gabriel Garland. Hey, Chad and Cog. Wow. This is a Chad Kroger joke, because I swear, man, I get the Chad. At first I was like, maybe he's calling me a Chad because he thinks like I'm a giga Chad, right? But now I'm seeing that a second time. I'm like, that's a Kroger joke for sure. All right, Gabriel, let's see what you wrote in here. I've recently purchased a Razer Kishi and converted an old phone into my dedicated handheld xCloud device. I've been enjoying remote playing in bed, Cyberpunk, and cloud streaming TMNT. Both experiences are improved to when I tested last year, but 720p is a bit annoying. When do you anticipate the streaming beta to be over and full release of the service to be ready? And what improvements do you think will need to be made? I personally think they need to provide a resolution and FPS option. Thanks, and have a game-breaking glitch on the last boss sort of day. Gabriel. Thank you, Gabriel. Appreciate you writing in.
Salute.
Cog, I know you are big on xCloud. You've used it probably more than me, because the last time I used it was for Like a Dragon, but I was in my house on my Steam Deck. Otherwise, I don't find myself using it much because I just don't have any need to. So I feel like your opinion here has more weight on what you feel likely needs to be improved and when you think this whole shindig will be over. Because I think they're going to keep it in beta for as long as they possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, I like Gabriel's suggestions. I'm always on the side of more options from a resolution standpoint. I totally get it. I think the reason why 720 started off initially is because they started with mobile first, and mobile was to play into it, and then obviously get Game Pass and all those titles into the service. That was the advantage they had over Stadia, who had the fidelity. They had the 4K tier. They had a lot of different options, as far as their resolution standpoint, and they were in browser first. And I thought Microsoft needed to get in browser to compete, which they are now. So they're making strides there. And to his questions, why, when do you think the beta is going to be over? I think it's going to be, I think honestly, it's the server farms. I think from my understanding, they still are building out. They're doing it in capacity where the server farms actually continue to grow out and exist. So as more happen in more regions, then we'll start to see it. And that's why I think what it is if everyone's on, there will be, if they go past this beta, they'll be past their constraint. You know what I'm saying? Because it's still, the infrastructure is still being built. There's still farms going on. If you want to pay attention to what's going on in Microsoft, follow Azure. Azure will tell you everything. Azure will tell you the regions they're caring about. Azure, just follow whenever you hear Microsoft doing anything in Azure, that'll give you a good indicator of what's happening. So I think that's what it is. And once it gets to that world, saturation, so to speak, they get more dense, then you'll start to see them come out of it. And then you'll start to see the real experience, which is what I would consider like, okay, we could turn up that notch. We could give them these fidelity options and stuff like that. The key would be if they utilize Ultimate. Because the Ultimate is the tier right now. For stream, I'm bugging. No, Ultimate is the tier. No. So they can't play them games. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they'll just put it in there. But yeah, good question. I love it. The service is still growing. I think it's great for pretty much turn-based JRPGs, even racing, fighting. Surprisingly, fighting is really good. I still think we're still a little bit away from that. We're not in that competitive FPS Twitch yet. We're not doing Halo ACS. No, we're not there yet. We can play a campaign. We can do that. But when you talk about competitive PvP, we're not there yet. But everything else in other genres, which probably represents the majority of gamers, they're fine.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So great insight there. And that's all the write-ins we have this episode and all the news we have. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this journey known as episode 91 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Cog, it's time for the hashtag. What do we tag on
lately with hashtag? I've been liking the hashtag.
Do I gotta put you in like a squeeze here and like make it where you gotta pick it and that'll force creativity? Do you work well under pressure? You like a diamond, or I'm gonna press you down and get something good out of this?
I don't know why I make the hashtag more of a thing. And I always forget. I literally should just put a note. Like, I always forget because I just get all into the topics and then I'm just like.
I'm surprised I remember. I'm a very forgetful person.
You remember.
So I'm surprised it comes up. But I think it's because I'm just a habitual person. So if it's in my cycle, which that is, it's like, okay, my brain just automatically fires to that. But
what you got? What you thinking?
Oh, man, what am I thinking? Man, okay, let's see here. All right, we went through a lot of acquisitions.
A lot of acquisitions.
A lot of that. A lot of Japanese, but we kind of did that with like a DD. That was a good one. That was definitely one of our best.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. I was solid. Yeah. I like that. And I don't want to use Grounded because I figured we're most likely going to do a cast or something.
Yeah, but that's DDU. We could. That's a good point. Maybe Grounded.
Okay. Yeah.
Hold on. You got it. See, there you go. You're not rusty. Got it us there. All right. Let's do. Let's spit out a couple of ideas. We'll do backyard DD. Sounds kind of creepy. I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like.
You don't like that.
I don't like that.
About that.
Let's see.
What did we come together on with Grounded? That was kind of. We did. We both kind of talked about survival in the sense of we're generally not a genre we rock. Survival DD?
Yeah, we can't do grounded DD because that'll be triple D at the end. That's bad.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad.
That's not good for him.
What else we do?
I mean, was there something specifically within? Oh wait, hold on. You got one?
No. Did we touched on something? I know, but we kind of beat that. That we have to go competition DD. I felt like Grounded did win the show.
Yeah,
on a lot of levels. So Grounded on some level, you got the Obsidian flow here too. You got that you can do, but we ain't got to be complete homers there.
You can do Obsidian DD if you really want it.
I can do Obsidian DD any day, 7 days in a week. You know what side
I think we got to give it to. We got to give it to the A team here, to your fantasy draft pick. With Grounded, 84 open critic score. I think we do that. Yeah. So we'll do Obsidian DD. And
let's give him some flowers.
Yeah. Please tag us on Twitter at G27status, at Lord Cognito. Let us know what you're thinking about the show, whether it be there, on YouTube, in the comments, on Patreon, wherever you decide. We're looking forward to seeing and reading your thoughts. Other than that, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 91 of the Finding Duke and Xbox podcast. And we'll see you all next time. Peace out.
The Finding Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. The Finding Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.